Hello, everybody. It is Monday, December 11th, 2023. Welcome to episode 68 of the Old Men Magic Podcast. Today is part 2 of our pre-modern cleric discussion, the Black Clerics, and some other clerics as well.
Gold clerics, Alex?
Started? I'm sorry?
Gold clerics? Are those the other clerics as well?
Gold clerics, yes. Even a green cleric or two. But before we get started, follow-ups from last episode. I believe you have a follow-up.
I do. I noted when we were talking about the clerics last week that we weren't seeing any cleric token generator in white. And I wondered, maybe there are modern frame cards that act as token generators for clerics. We didn't see any in the old frame cards we were looking at. So I just went to Scryfall and did a little search. And there are, in fact, a number of cleric token generators in modern frame cards. I found this one called Hallowed Haunting. 2 colorless, 2 white enchantment. Not sure what this set is from. But when Hallowed Haunting is in play, as long as you control 7 or more enchantments, creatures you control have flying and vigilance. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, create a white spirit cleric creature token with this creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of spirits you control. So here we got a cleric and a spirit token generator. There were a few more too. Heliod, God of the Sun, legendary enchantment creature god. We haven't come across these before. Don't know when they started doing enchantment creatures. This is 3 colorless, 1 white, 5/6, indestructible. Very normal stats for a forecasting cost creature. As long as your devotion to white is less than 5, Heliod isn't a creature. Other creatures you control have vigilance. You can pay 2 colorless, 2 white to create a 2/1 white cleric enchantment creature token. Outlaw's Merriment, another enchantment, 1 colorless, 1 red, 2 white. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose one at random. Create a red and white creature token with those characteristics. One set of characteristics is 2/1 human cleric with lifelink and haste. And then there was this one down here, Westvale Abbey, which was actually a cleric token generating land.
Oh, cool.
You can tap to add a colorless mana to your mana pool, or you can pay 5 colorless, tap Westvale Abbey, pay 1 life, put a 1/1 white and black human cleric creature token onto the battlefield. Or you can pay 5, tap, sacrifice 5 creatures, transform Westvale Abbey, then untap it. I'm not sure what transform is.
Double-sided card?
It looks like it. Yeah, that's probably what this is. I didn't even notice that. I see 9/7 down here too. So maybe transform it turns into a 9/7 creature.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
It does. Wow.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Ormondal, Profane Prince, 9/7, legendary creature demon, flying, lifelink, indestructible, haste. That's dastardly that clerics, you could sacrifice clerics to summon a demon. This is the first double-sided card I've ever actually seen. Live here on the show, coming across one for the first time. I knew they existed. I don't think I've seen one. Unless you showed me one in the past. I don't know. But that was my cleric follow-up. There are, in fact, cards out there that generate cleric tokens. I think they're all modern frame. This might not be an extensive list. It was just some that I found. Well, it's not an extensive list. What I meant to say was this might not be a comprehensive list.
Cool. Yeah, okay. I feel like I've heard of a couple of those, like Heliod before, but hopefully we'll have a chance to learn about some of them a little more.
I've definitely heard Heliod. I don't know if all the mentions of Heliod refer to this card specifically.
Yeah, there might be more popular. I don't know.
It could be on a ton of different cards. But okay.
Okay.
Segment 1, Alex.
Segment 1.
Segment you want to start.
All right, we're on to the Black Clerics today. We're just going to start with a list of some of the most popular Black Clerics in pre-modern.
Yeah, what are we talking about here? Old frame Black Clerics today. Well, we're starting with Black Clerics. Old frame clerics. Last episode we covered the white. Now we're covering all the other colors. but they are all old frame except for the modern frame cards I just showed people,
Yes.
right?
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, should we get started? The first card I have on the list is Withered Wretch.
Withered Wretch.
Mhm.
This is one I'm familiar with. I've seen this a lot.
Also a zombie.
Also a zombie.
I think that's
we
part
might
of the reason why it's so popular. You have a 2/2 for 2, and it has a special ability.
love
It
it.
can remove a target card in a graveyard from the game. Um, I'm not sure that people see. I'm speaking outside of my sphere of knowledge now already at this point, but I'm not sure if people really play this for its special ability. That's kind of like nice to have. Um, I think it's more that it's just like a 2/2 for 2 that counts as a zombie or a cleric, and it has that nice little like bit of a uh, Feldon's Caney type ability added to it. If there's, do you know of another reason why people use this? Like
Well, hold
that
on a
that
second. What does Feldon's King do?
removes graveyards from the
Does that
game.
remove graveyard? Does that let you recycle your graveyard into your hand
Oh,
for
did I
some
say the
reason?
wrong thing? Oh, jeez. Tormod's Crypt. Is that what I mean?
Yes, yes. You're confusing Feldon's Cane with Tormod's Crypt. Tormod's
Tormod's,
Crypt is the one
yeah.
that removes graveyard. I think people do run Withered Wretch for its special ability. I think that's why I usually see it in the decks I've been seeing it in.
Okay.
Because it can help deal with reanimator decks.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's a great card because, yeah, I mean, I see it sometimes as a one of in decks. If you're not playing somebody who has a lot of graveyard interaction or does a lot of things with cards in their graveyard or plays a graveyard style. Not a big deal because you have a 2/2 for 2 in your deck. It's decent. And if you're running it in a zombie deck, you get all sorts of different zombie synergies. So I often see it as a one of like what was I saying? So if your opponent's not running a graveyard deck, who cares? You have a 2/2 for 2 in your deck
Yeah.
that has zombie synergy, and it's decent.
Mhm.
But because there are a lot of pretty competitive and powerful decks that do play with from the graveyard a lot, if your opponent happens to be playing one of those strategies, you have this bonus special ability. And in addition to one or two in the main board, I'll often see some more sideboarded too. And I'm assuming those get sideboarded in against graveyard strategies.
I do see people starting with it in the deck a lot, though. It's not
Yeah.
so much like from what I've seen so far that it's like in the sideboard and then they bring it in. They're kind of starting playing with at least some of them, it seems like.
That's what I see too, starting with at least some of them, but sometimes I see some extra on the sideboard too.
Okay. Okay. Um, Next card.
Zombie Cleric. For those people out there who are waiting for zombie clerics, here we go, zombie clerics. We did the zombies. We did the clerics. Now we covered a zombie cleric. Rotlung Reanimator
Next
is the
card.
next one I see on your
Yes.
list, Alex.
Rotling Reanimator.
Also
I
a
didn't know if
zombie
I was supposed
cleric.
to say it or I was waiting for you to pull it up. We've talked about this a couple times already. I love this card. It's one of my favorites in here. 2 colorless, 1 black, 2/2. Whenever Rotling Reanimator or another cleric is put into a graveyard from play, put a 2/2 black zombie creature into play. And it counts as a zombie cleric.
It was very annoying the one or two times I played against it. In a deck where my removal is limited, if they're running Rotlung Reanimators in combination with other clerics, every time I remove something, it's just replaced. It's replaced by a creature token.
Mhm.
Now, ideally, the thing that I got rid of is much bigger than a 2/2, and what replaces it is weaker than what I got rid of. But still, then I have another thing on the board that can potentially attack me when I don't want to get attacked. It could act as a chump blocker, or maybe it can even take out my creatures that I'm swinging with. Maybe I just have 1/1s or 2/2s. It's a pain in the ass when you're trying to run removal to clear the way, or if your removal is your defense, It's a pain in the ass because it just replaces the things that you try to knock off the board.
Now, it's only if it goes to the graveyard, so if you're going to Swords to Plowshares, you're not
Yes.
as worried about it.
Yeah.
But still, it gives you a lot more ways around removal and continually bringing out creatures that they're gonna run out of ways to remove. That's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. Rare from Onslaught, $5. What's the next one, Alex?
The next one is
Give it to
Shepherd
me.
of Rot.
Shepherd of Rot. I should move this down so people can't see me type. Then they'll know if I'm spelling things wrong. Shepherd of Rot. Originally printed in Onslaught. I think we talked about this too during the zombie episodes.
It seems like a lot of people are throwing it in. I haven't tried to play with this really. It seems, a little risky, but it's definitely making it into a lot of decks.
It's a very black strategy, suicide black strategy, Yeah, you might kill yourself. Kill your opponent. You might kill yourself in the process. We'll see what happens. Shepherd of Rot. I like it a lot.
Do you?
I do, yeah.
I've been afraid to mess with this too much. I'm kind of like, I'm looking at the downside and I'm like, I'm not sure. Also seems to be, its ability has to do with zombies, so it's probably used more in zombie decks, I'm guessing.
Definitely. Yeah. That's the context we talked about this before. In an aggressive deck, which zombies are, you just got to get a faster start than your opponent. And then the Shepherd of Rot could be
do a little bit of damage first.
Yeah.
Also, I haven't looked at the decks people run this card in too much, but I'm guessing, you're gonna have to be careful about your life loss. You know what I mean? So you're probably not using too many cards that make you lose life. Maybe some cards actually that make you gain life or steal life from your opponent, some drain life effects or Cabal Archon or things like that. So that way you have a edge in life and then you can finish them with this.
But I like it. Anything else that gives your deck reach, ability to do direct damage. I like running cards like that. Even sometimes if they damage me, I don't build these decks a lot because I am afraid of them, to be honest. I don't do them well, but I want to start building some more decks like this that kind of follow this suicide strategy. Hurt yourself, but try to make sure you take out your opponent faster.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. This isn't my maybe go-to first card to try, but I think it's good and I would use it.
Okay.
More for zombie decks though, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Three big zombies so far. Zombie clerics.
Yeah. Next card. I really like this one. I was saying the other day that I have trouble not putting this into almost any black deck I'm making. Is Priest of Gix.
And Urza's Saga original. We're out of the zombies now, I think. We're away from the zombies. We've covered those zombie clerics before. Now
Although
we're
this card is a Phyrexian human cleric minion.
So we have a lot of different synergies here.
Multiple creature types again. Priest of Gix is 2 colorless, 1 black. 2/1 when Priest of Gix comes into play, add black, black, black to your mana pool. So another one of these, you get your mana cost refunded after you play the creature kind of cards. It's a free card. Also it can convert non-black mana into black mana, which is cool. 2/1 starting power toughness, which is nice. And there's no downside to it. Steve ponders.
It's good. You played this against me too. especially in a deck where you can work some card draw in. You know, it's a I was gonna say a dark ritual effect. It's not really a dark ritual effect because it doesn't provide you ramp, but well,
I mean, in a way it does because you're getting
it
your
does.
mana to do something else, so you're going to get more
But
cards out.
yeah, but it's not ramp.
I know, yeah.
It's yeah, it replaces itself. If you have a deck where you're able to draw additional cards, you can play potentially twice as much
Hmm.
with the Priest of Gix. So you play the Priest of Gix and another 3 casting cost card. I say it's not ramp because I mean, a Dark Ritual's ramp. You have 1 swamp on the board.
Yeah.
You tap that, you generate 3. So you're up 2 mana. Here you're just replacing the 3 mana. You have to have your 3 mana out to play it to begin with.
Someone mentions this with Allurin. That's a sweet combo. Allurin's the green enchantment that allows players to play creature cards with converted mana cost 3 or less without paying the mana cost and as though they had flash.
Okay.
So you'd just be getting free mana for playing.
Yeah, okay, that's pretty sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. So that'd be fun
Tempest.
in black green.
$36 currently for learns. I can't remember how much those were. Now, Priest of Gix is very good.
Also, you
What?
have Soldevi Adnate from Alliances. Uh, that's a cleric that you can tap to sacrifice a creature and add black mana equal to its casting cost to your mana pool.
I think I know how to spell Soldevi. Soldevi.
Mm-hmm.
How do I spell Adonate?
Adnate.
Oh, okay. Okay, I remember the art for this one. Sacrifice a black or artifact creature to add an amount of black mana equal to that creature's casting costume.
And I didn't put this card in the list, like give it its own spot in our discussion today, but another cool black cleric.
Okay. Common. I think it's a common from Alliances too. So cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Priest of Gix. You have Priest of Gix in your decks. What do you do with it?
I don't know. What do I do with it? I just
Yeah,
play it for free.
just play it as a 2/1 creature.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just like the fact that, you get it for free. It can convert a little bit of mana to black mana. And then since you're playing black, you're bringing it back from the graveyard, maybe. So you're getting mana again when you bring it back from the graveyard.
Okay.
Know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I'm just trying to think what what cards out there bring something straight from your graveyard to play. And how much do those what's the mana cost
Oh,
of
I
those
see. I
cards?
see what you're
Yeah,
saying. Yeah.
I can't remember. Bull Rush, I mean, I think Bull Rush Stronghold is not straight into play, right? Graveyard on top of your library. Animate
A lot of the
Dead.
cards bring things back to your hand. You're probably just looking at like Reanimate.
Yeah.
Then Animate Dead, of course, has funky interactions because
Hmm.
of how it works. But
Is Animate Dead -1, -0? I couldn't remember if it was -1, -1, or -1, -0. Anyways, what's the next one?
Cabal Archon.
Cabal Archon.
We've mentioned this before. I really like this card. This card's fun.
Here we're finally at a straight up cleric, not a zombie cleric, not a human minion cleric. We just have a cleric. It's in black. It's from Onslaught. It's an uncommon. Okay.
Cabal Archon is 1 black, 2 colorless. 2/2 has a special ability. You can pay a black and sacrifice a cleric. Target player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life.
Mm-hmm. So this is the kind. This is a card, for instance, that works really well if you have Priest of Gix and this in your hand too, because one turn you can play both.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to think, Priest of Gix, how many cleric cards are you gonna be running in the same deck that are also 3 casting costs? Like how many times when you're playing with Priest of Gix are you gonna be able to use Priest of Gix's ability to play 2 cards on a turn where you would have only been able to play 1 had you not cast Priest of Gix with those 3 mana. Cabal Archon, you ran this against me before too. I played against this card. Also a major pain in the ass. Especially when like Rotlung Reanimator's out at the same time. Like if anything, I go to Lightning Bolt or Swords to Plowshare. If you have a black mana, when I go to remove it, you just sacrifice it to the Cabal Archon. And then you generate a 2/2 token. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Which the token, the Rotlung Reanimator generates their cleric zombie tokens, or no, they were just zombie tokens.
Just zombies, yeah.
So you can just screw me once like that. But it is a real pain in the ass if you're trying to, if your opponent has a Cabal Archon, a Rotlung Reanimator, and a cleric on the board, you try to eliminate the cleric. They sacrifice the cleric to Cabal Archon. You lose 2 damage. They gain 2 damage, plus you generate a 2/2 zombie token when that cleric goes to the graveyard.
And you can do it as many times as you want in a turn, as long as you have the black mana, so
Yeah.
it doesn't tap.
So in an instance like that, what you got to do is you got to not target the 3rd cleric. You have to target the Archon. If you target the 3rd cleric, they just keep sacrificing to the Archon every time, generating the zombie tokens, gaining life, losing life. If you target the Archon directly first, they can sacrifice the Archon to themselves, but then the Archon's gone, so they can't keep doing that every time.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So it's still not pleasant for you, but it's probably the best thing you could do in that situation. You've got to get the Archon out of the way.
Yeah,
that's how I felt when I was playing against it.
I think this card is sweet. Yeah, I don't know. It's really good. There was something else I was going to say about it too, and I forgot.
Something you read on Gatherer.
Oh, well.
Something you thought of after playing the card in a deck.
I'll come back to it.
Something about the art. It is really good art.
Yeah, it's cool. It's creepy.
Okay. What's after Cabal Archon, Alex?
After Cabal Archon, Dark Supplicant.
So this is from Legions. It's an uncommon from Legions. And it's part of what? A trio of cards that does something terrible. Not terrible for the person playing them. Terrible for the person playing against whoever it is, has these 3 cards out, right?
Yeah. It's just a 1 black casting cost for a 1/1 cleric, but you can tap it to sacrifice 3 clerics, and then you can search through either any of your graveyard, hand, or library for Scion of Darkness and put it into play, and then shuffle. Scion of Darkness, you may ask, is a big nasty creature.
Let me look at this again. Tap, sacrifice 3 clerics. Dark Supplicant can be one of those clerics.
Correct.
Then you can search your graveyard, hand, and/or library for Sign of Darkness, and it goes straight into play. Okay, so you just have to have 3 clerics out, including Dark Supplicant.
Yeah.
Then you bring Sign of Darkness into play.
Sign of Darkness is 3 black, 5 colorless, 6/6 trample avatar creature. Whenever Scion of Darkness deals combat damage to a player, you may put target creature card from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It also has cycling 3 colorless. So that's kind of neat because if you need to cycle it, it goes to the graveyard and you can still get it out of the graveyard with the little clerics because they can pull it from anywhere, which is nice.
If you go with this strategy, this is another thing good to use Priest of Gix for.
Mhm.
You could potentially like Dark Ritual out Priest of Gix and then immediately play 2 other 1 casting cost or 1 2 casting cost. And you could Dark Ritual out Priest of Gix and then play a Dark Supplicant and a Withered Wretch. And you have 3 clerics already.
Mhm.
So it could be a turn 2 Sign of Darkness.
Yeah, you can get with Dark Ritual and yeah, Priest of Gix, you can get a couple little clerics out really fast.
Now you've emptied your hand almost, and then the Sign of Darkness gets Swords to Plowshare, but it's still fun if it doesn't.
Right.
If it doesn't get Swords to Plowshare, that's super fun. I know you brought Sign of Darkness out against me too, and I think I killed it. I think I might have Swords to Plowshared it. But I also think one time, I think I played against it one other time, and it was it might have been a game ender, because I remember getting trampled over and being like, oh man, like I can't because of the I didn't have anything to deal with trample.
Mhm.
And this ability to steal things from my creatures from my graveyard was just pretty much a game
That
ender.
just starts to get nasty really fast. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I like this. It's kind of a big crazy to me creature, but the combo to get it out that's built into the other cards is simple and cheap. You know,
Mhm.
you could be playing a lot of low casting cost clerics that can get this guy out pretty quickly. Um, Generally seeing people just put like 1 in a deck, and that's what I did too. I didn't want to like have this clogging up my deck. When you're able to tutor for it or pull it out of your graveyard.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can get it out of your graveyard too, so you could just put in 4 of the whatchamacallits,
Yeah,
Dark Supplicants. Uh, although if Scion is Swords to Plowshare, then you're shit out of luck.
true. But then you just keep going. I don't know. I feel like you just keep going with your other clerics.
Yeah, you can run I mean, you don't have to have a dedicated Sign of Darkness strategy. You can
Yeah,
run a cleric strategy that just happens to have 1 Sign of Darkness in there
that's how I feel about it.
if
Yeah,
it works.
it's
Yeah.
just like a big nasty in your deck that you can pull out, but your deck's not relying on it to win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next one.
I bet there were like a lot of 13-year-olds that when Legions came out,
Yeah, yeah,
was running the Sign of Darkness,
yeah.
Dark
Definitely.
Supplicant.
It just looks so fun. It's like, oh, easy to get the dark supplicants down, you know. It's not an oppressive combo.
Okay, what do we got next? What's the next black cleric, Alex?
The next black cleric is Disciple of Malice.
For my consideration. I've seen this art. I can't remember what this guy does.
Well, we just talked about the
I know
white
where I
shifted
saw him.
version of this.
We talked about the what?
The white shifted version of this
Last
in
episode.
our last episode, yes.
You know where else I saw this? I saw it when we were talking about fluctuator decks.
Oh, okay.
This was one of the many cycling creatures that would sometimes end up in a fluctuator deck.
Disciple of Grace was the white one, by the way.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. But I like this. You see Swords of Plowshares so much. It's pretty
So
nice to
much.
have a protection from white creature in your deck. The
It
cycling
is.
thing's nice. And you can always, this can be, if you're starting with this, you can sideboard it out for stuff. It can be one of the things that you sideboard out for something else if you don't need it, or sideboard it in. I see it in sideboards here,
Yeah.
fair amount. Um,
I think it might be a sideboard card for me also
mhm.
because of the protection from white.
Yeah.
Or playing against decks that have like a dedicated removal strategy of consisting of Swords to Plowshares, or like against white weenie decks and you have a really good blocker.
Mm-hmm.
Something they can get through. The art on these clerics too, on these black clerics, it's different artists, but a fairly like cohesive
Yeah.
style.
There's like a consistent theme to them, yeah. And you see
Yeah.
some of these same like clerics popping up in some of the cards, like in the backgrounds. see some of the same
I
recurring
guess this
characters.
the style's different here, but they must have been given an outfit. They must have been given directions for what kind of outfit to put this fella in,
Yeah.
right?
Well, let's say that guy in the background, for example, he's in at least one other card. And
Okay.
it's escaping me now, but that's another recurring character.
In different styles, three different styles, these last three cards, three different styles, three different artists, but still like cohesive costumes. They must have been given images to all work from and then just do their thing over. This looks very much like a Disney character, like a Disney villain.
Yeah, that does look like Disney art kind of.
Yeah. Anyways,
Cabal Slaver. That's
what
the
is
guy.
this?
Huh?
What is Cabal Slaver?
Cabal Slaver is the guy in the background of Cabal Archon.
Okay. Okay. Also a black cleric. I don't think you
Goblin
had this.
Synergy Cleric.
I don't think you had this guy in the list, but
Yeah.
yeah, he is a black cleric. 2 colorless, 1 black, 2/1 from Onslaught. Whenever a goblin deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card from his or her hand. Interesting.
Mhm.
This is the only goblin cleric synergy I've ever seen.
Yeah, as far as I know.
He
Now I need to
enslaves
make a
goblins.
Goblik deck.
Yeah. Weird. Okay.
Again, fitting in with that artistic theme, though.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Next card is Headhunter.
Not elite headhunter. It's the headhunter from Onslaught
Just regular Headhunter.
that you can purchase for 19 cents. It is an uncommon. That is fucking crazy. What is
Yeah, that's some wild art.
this? Is insane. At least he appears to be decapitating zombies. They're
Zombies.
already not alive.
Yeah.
They're not dead either. They're undead, but they're not alive. So if you're gonna go around decapitating anything, you might as well do it on a zombie, you know.
Yeah. Boy, he looks like he's having fun.
Yeah. What a nut job.
Well, I like this. I put this in the first cleric deck I worked on. He's
I've
one
never
black,
seen
one
this.
huh?
I've never seen this one before, yeah.
No. He's one black, one colorless, 1/1. Whenever Headhunter deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card from his or her hand. I believe it's their choice. It also has Morph for 1 black. You can play it initially for 3 colorless and then morph it up for 1 black.
And when you play it for oh, never mind. Sorry, you play it for 3 to get a 2/2. Okay.
Yeah.
Morph it for 1.
Couple things about this card. For starters, I just like it. I think it's cool. It's fairly, low casting cost and has a sweet ability if it gets through. You could try to do stuff to make it get through easily, like, you're like land walking and unblockable strategies, or you can just kind of like have it in your deck as like one other threat and removal target, which I kind of think it ends up being. It's like that people are going to get rid of this pretty quickly. Do something to get rid of it. I was looking up Morph. As far as I can tell, in the explanation for Morph, it says that it's always 3 colorless.
Yeah.
So
I haven't
that
seen
was
all the
something.
morph. I mean, there's a lot of morph spells I haven't seen, but that's my impression of everything I've seen so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I learned that. I didn't realize. I thought they adjusted the morph cost like for different cards, but it's always 3. So that makes this, I don't know. I'm not sure. As far as the
So
morph aspect of it goes, I've seen that ability on different creatures where I thought it was a lot better.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
definitely. Yeah. Well, so what you're saying is for creatures with morph, it's 3 colorless to initially play it face down.
Yeah, and that's
Okay.
always apparently the same.
That sounds about right.
And then the second cost will differ from creature to creature.
Yeah. So here's Exalted Angel, for instance.
Yeah.
3 colors as a 2/2. That must be also, it must also be true. I don't know off the top of my head that every creature you play face down for 3 mana
Is a
is
2/2?
always
I
a
believe
2/2.
so, yeah. Because it's like written into the morph rules here from what I'm seeing. Um, with most morph cards, it seems like what they're doing is they're letting you pay a smaller amount twice, or a more easy to cast amount twice, like more colorless mana, rather than like paying a bigger overall casting cost that maybe has a few different colors in it. With
Yeah.
Headhunter, it's not really, it's already a low casting cost creature.
It's not
So
very efficient. Yeah.
other than keeping what it is a secret, I think that's the real
That's the
strength
only.
here. You're trying to keep it a secret. So I think you're, instead of paying less twice for a creature as a bargain, they're allowing you to cast it face down and pay more for it to do that. You see what I'm saying? Kind of like a
Yeah.
different take on the like morph strategy compared to some other
Yeah.
creatures. Um,
Which is interesting in very specific environments. In the environments where most people play, not good. I mean, most of the time, the first time you play your friend's deck with headhunters, they might get you, but then you're going to know what their morph creature is.
yes.
Any tournament you're playing in with open deck lists, they're going to know what your headhunter is. But like on draft night, when Onslaught just came out, nobody knows what you're playing.
Mhm.
Then it's kind of neat.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like I'd just just pay the normal casting cost for this and have it
That's
be
what
like
I
an
would do
awesome
too.
threat that they have to deal with.
I'm seeing this as I'm imagining this having a potential place in my Hypnotic Spectre,
Mhm.
Abyssal Spectre, Order of
Yeah,
Yawgmoth deck.
that's kind of like what I like. It is a little bit of a hypnotic specter kind of feel to it. Yeah.
But for 2 mana, I can now curve out with this deck. I mean, you have
Mhm.
Headhunters at 2, you have Hippies at 3, you have Abyssal Spectre and Order of Yawgmoth at 4.
Mhm.
Here we go.
Mhm.
There
Yeah, and
we
with a
go.
dark ritual, you can play this and something else for one together, and that's nice. I like playing two cards like that.
I
Empty out
can
your hand, but
Dark Ritual, Priest of Gix,
yeah.
Headhunter, and a 1 casting cost zombie. Withered Witch.
No, you'd have more mana though, because your Priest of Gix will give you mana back.
Well, yeah. Dark Ritual to play the Priest of Gix. And then the 3 mana from the Priest
Oh
of
yeah,
Gix
okay,
to
okay.
play the
I'm seeing,
Headhunter and the
I
yeah.
see, yeah. Okay.
Anyways, uh I like the idea of being able to curve out a low casting cost creature. It causes your opponent to discard. I also think maybe you just play this card for the art too.
hmm It's fun. It's just fun and nasty and cool looking.
Yeah.
It's gonna scare them when it gets down. They're like, okay, I gotta get rid of that.
That's what I like. I like it to eat removal.
Yeah.
Because
Eat
hippies always
host
get
plowshares
removed.
with a bolt. Yeah, definitely. Big target.
If you curve out with the headhunter before you get to the hippie, to
Oh
get
yeah.
rid of the headhunter, and then you smack him with a hippie next turn. It's fodder. It's fodder for the Spectre.
Okay. Next card talk about. Uh this is an oldie. You'll remember this one from back in the day. Order of the Ebon Hand.
Which I did not remember being a cleric. I wouldn't have thought that it was a cleric. Also, not pre-modern legal, which it's old frame, not pre-modern. Sometimes I get bummed out that Fallen Empires isn't in pre-modern. There's not much that I would add, but I would like to have things like Pump Nights every once in a while when I'm putting some decks together.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it's not pre-modern legal, just because they wanted to pick a base set to start pre-modern with, and they went with 4th edition. Maybe Fallen Empires is more from the revised era,
And
but it
this hasn't
was,
been reprinted in something that is pre-modern legal?
oh, you know what? Maybe it was
because it's in one of the pre-modern decks.
Is it really? You
Yeah.
know, were they printed in fourth edition or fifth edition or sixth edition or seventh edition? Well, I don't think so. You think it's pre-modern legal?
It's in this one deck.
Because Fallen Empires is
See,
not.
this is pre-modern, not legal. So now I'm very
Yeah.
confused.
Oh, I don't know why I'm going to Moxfield. It should be right here in Scryfall, actually. Well, you can search for pre-modern in Scryfall, but they don't yet have it here, like the legality.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's not pre-modern legal. So somebody had it mislabeled in a deck, but it is still
Yeah.
old frame.
Yes. And if you don't want to use this, I mean, like these pump knights are great. They're iconic and everything, but like you have some other options for stuff you can put in if you need
Yeah.
like a small, like little beater cleric guy.
I just like them so much so. I mean, 2 mana, yes, they can potentially eat up a lot of mana to use their abilities, but it's like 2 mana, you can pump it, you can give it first strike, and it's pro white.
Yeah,
So
it's always a threat, a bit of a threat there because you don't know, especially in like black, they might have some way to generate a bunch of mana really
yeah.
fast,
Yeah.
and you don't know what they're going to do with it.
Ice
Um,
Age is pre-modern legal, Homelands is pre-modern legal, Alliances is pre-modern legal. I just think of the flavor of Fallen Empires like being, the same. I think of it as part
yeah,
of that.
I put it more with those sets than with the Dark and
Yeah,
Legends. You
so
know
do
what I
I. Yeah.
mean? It's more like that group. Uh, and I mean, it's not like there's anything in Fallen Empires really that's so broken that it's going to mess up the format by including it.
Yeah. Oh well.
Oh
Oh
well.
well.
Well, anyways, never mind Order of the Ebon Hand then.
Well, no, we could. It's old frame. We'll still cover. We'll
Yeah.
cover old frame. I
Uh,
didn't bring that up to say, oh, don't talk about it. I just brought it up to say, not
yes,
pre-modern,
no,
old frame, but
I
not pre-modern legal.
absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that because I wasn't not aware.
Solid card. I don't have any, and like every couple weeks, I'm like, oh, I need to order some pump nights, and I forget. I need to order the Ebon Hand. I need to order Leaper, the white version,
Yeah,
since it's Fallen Empires. You can still get this shit for 15 cents.
and a nice black border.
Nice black border.
All right, well, while we're talking about fallen empires, we can talk about initiates of the Ebon Hand.
Initiates in the Ebon Hand. This is a good one too. This is
Actually,
pre-modern legal because it's in 5th edition. I always love this art. This is my favorite one right here.
yeah, so weird. Big eyeball chest man. But for 1 black, you get a 1/1 cleric, and it has a mana fixing ability where you can turn colorless into black. Uh, if you spend more than 3, it kills it.
Mhm.
So it's okay. Nice little mana fix or anything. I'm not seeing this really making the cut into a lot of the decks I look at. Uh, if you're playing, mono black cleric, you don't need this. If you're playing white black cleric, you still might not need it. Um, but maybe
It's just a good value creature from back in the day.
it is. It's nice, yeah. For
Yeah.
for that time period, you got like an on curve cost creature that had a little special ability for you.
Mm-hmm. So those are the black clerics that you have for us today, Alex. Again, a lot of small creatures. There's the one big baddie,
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
Scion, Scion of Darkness. Is that what I was looking at?
Yeah.
But then everything else is like 1/1, 2/1.
Yeah, they all seem to be smaller creatures and the white clerics are like this too, with abilities,
Exactly. Yeah.
either like mana abilities or some sort of combat ability, uh, sacrificing abilities. Um, again, not as much compared to some of the other creature groups we see, not as much in here for like straight pumping, make
Yeah.
them bigger. You're not going to be like fielding a bunch of like 5/5 and 6/6 clerics probably that you've like pumped up
Yeah.
with stuff. But they have abilities and utility, and they do some cool things.
And there were some synergies, but the ones with real synergy had synergies with zombies, really, which was full of synergy.
Yeah, there's
Or
some.
there was that one unique synergy, all to bring out Sign of Darkness.
Mhm, mhm.
So
Yeah,
kind
the
of a
black
different.
clerics definitely have some zombie synergy, and we noticed white clerics might have some synergy with a few things too. We didn't necessarily get into every card, but there are some bird clerics, for example.
Oh yeah.
So that's
I,
something we might have to come back and revisit.
I forgot about all the bird clerics. We used to do bird episodes eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. Might be some nomad clerics in there. Trying to think. But yeah, those are the ones that I see in the list being used the most. There's a few other ones we can talk about probably, but those seem to be the most commonly used clerics in black.
Okay.
We have a few spells that go along with them.
That was 10 creatures that we covered. Now some spells.
Profane prayers.
Profane prayers. I don't recognize the name of this card. I don't recognize the art either. It is a common from Onslaught, a sorcery. I don't know if I've ever seen it.
I just learned about this a little while ago when I was making my first clerics deck. It's a
Okay.
sorcery for 2 black, 2 colorless. Profane Prayers deals X damage to target creature or player, and you gain X life, where X is the number of clerics in play. So it's a static casting cost drain life that grows with the number of clerics you have.
Yeah.
So I
Again,
like that.
we haven't seen a cleric generator.
I was just going to say the only downside here is that we haven't really seen good ways to generate like a bunch of cleric tokens in pre-modern. Still pretty cool though. I like that it's, capped at 4 mana. Could be a nice game ender.
To get your casting costs worth from this card, I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say. I don't know if it was the most elegant way to phrase it, but to do that, you should need to have at least 3 clerics out.
Yeah.
Then then it's like a drain life for 3. Which a lot of times you can have 3 clerics out. Downside is you can't go above that. You can't use any of the ramp abilities that you see so often in black.
Oh, like to pay more mana to make it a bigger spell. Yeah. That's a good point. But I bet I can find other things to spend my extra black mana on.
Yeah. It's pretty art too. That's a vibrant purple. Profane Prayers. Never saw that one before.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I could maybe work this in as a finisher. Another one, Misery Charm.
We have a charm. Which charm is this?
This is the charm that has to do with clerics.
Okay, this is an onslaught charm.
One black instant, and you get 3 options. Choose one. Destroy target cleric, return target cleric from your graveyard to your hand, or target player loses 2 life. I really want to make this work. I want to like this and have it in decks. I don't see other people using it really. And I think most of the charms just get kind of set aside ultimately. Like I tried to put this in a deck or two, and I kind of keep whittling it down to fewer and fewer copies. As far as the charms go, though, in a cleric deck, it has some cool uses. I kind of like it.
It's a beast on a cleric mirror match, but how many times are you going to be in a cleric mirror match?
That's the thing. The first ability, the destroy target cleric, is probably the least useful.
Yeah. You pretty much use it for the second ability, right? That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, the second or the third. I mean, it's a nice way to maybe like finish someone off if they're down really low.
Yeah, it's just kind of weak to put in the
Well,
deck.
we have, in black, you have other finishers. And in one of the decks we're going to look at, we'll talk about one of them, which is a bigger, chunkier finishing move. So, Yeah, probably just the middle ability is the most important one.
Yeah.
And in black, we could be playing Unearth and other things like that. By the way, going back to what we were talking about before, Unearth is another one that fits uh what we were talking about at the beginning.
Unearth is a cycler, right?
It has cycling on it, but it also puts a creature card from your graveyard into play.
Oh, straight to the battlefield. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I think what were we talking about? We were talking about Priest of Gix.
Priest of Gix.
Yeah, yeah. So you could use Unearth with Priest of Gix.
Okay.
Nice combo.
And Priest of Gix is 3 casting costs. So yeah.
Yeah.
Total casting cost 3 or less. Okay. And then a black spell that's good for all sorts of clan strategies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
And I
remembering
tried to,
correctly.
I didn't include, there's obviously some other really common black spells that go in with cleric decks, things like duress and cabal therapy and stuff, but they weren't particularly, what am I trying to say? I thought this was a little more on point, and those are just good cards that people put in.
Yeah, in every black deck.
Yeah, in every black deck. Patriarch's Bidding is a sorcery, 3 colorless, 2 black. Each player chooses a creature type. Each player returns all creature cards of a type chosen this way from his or her graveyard to play. So, a way to get your clerics back into play, and I guess you're assuming that they are not going to have creatures of a common type to do the same thing with.
Yeah, I was going to say this is great unless you're playing an opponent with goblins.
Yeah.
Or zombies. Or any clan other than clerics.
Yeah. So maybe a sideboard card or a card that gets swapped out into your sideboard for something else frequently.
I see this a lot as a sideboard card. Sometimes even in like black-red zombies. I mean, sorry,
okay.
black-red goblins.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. This is a card that I need to get a couple of. I don't have any. But I remember when I first saw it, I was like, oh, I don't want to pay much for this. I got Curse Totem up here. And then I think the price of it I think it just collapsed and became a lot more affordable. It's not cheap now, it's $10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was almost $50
Jeez.
For unknown reasons, for not good reasons.
Wow.
And then was it reprinted at around this time? Or did it just fall in price? Because people were like, Modern Horizons 2 is a Modern Horizons 2. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, so it's like it's become semi-affordable again. It was $4 or $5. I should have bought them earlier this year. But now everybody's crypto's gone up, so now they're buying magic cards again. Everybody's selling their Bitcoin, buying more magic cards, pumping up the price. Cheaper than it was in 2019 and 2018. It's back to its 2016 price. But they will print it again. Who knows how frequently they're going to print this? I don't know. Anyways, all to say, I remember this as a card. I remember this being a card when I first saw it that I wanted, but not for how much it was going for at the time that I first saw it. Yeah, I'm not paying $40 for this, but I might pick up 2 copies for my sideboards for $10 a piece.
Yeah, I'd like to mess around with this, and it looks kind of neat, but if I was 40 or $50,
that's crazy.
The cards I'd buy first.
Yeah. It's not worth it.
But I thought it was interesting. That's a pretty new card to me. I'm trying to think of like ways that you might be able to like combo with something else, like to punish them for using its effect, like punish your opponent for using its effect.
I don't know.
I'll have to think about that.
You could also, I'm trying to think of ways too, where you could just, even if you're playing even if you're playing an opponent with a creature heavy deck, I guess if they're not focused on a particular clan, this still benefits you to a greater degree if you're playing like a focused cleric strategy or a focused zombie strategy or something. Also, if you're playing zombies or clerics or zombie clerics, you could also always have your Withered Wretch in play, and if it doesn't get knocked off the board,
Oh,
You can pay that one colorless to remove their creatures from
that's true.
their graveyard before you cast Patriarch's Bidding,
Yeah, that's
stuff
nice
like that.
synergy a little bit.
Yeah. Anyways,
Okay.
it's a good card.
And has a swamp tentacle monster.
I was trying to figure out what that is. Is it a cephalid? Is it a robot cephalid? Is it?
Yeah, some monster
Is
of the deep, cephalid-like
yeah,
kraken,
yeah.
swamp kraken.
Okay.
All right. Well, Steve, now that we've talked about some black clerics and spells, I thought maybe we'd discuss a few of the other, I don't want to call them leftovers, but the multicolor clerics and clerics that don't fit into our first two categories nicely.
Okay.
Uh, the first multicolor cleric I want to talk about is the Edgewalker.
Okay. Some gold. I know the Edgewalker. I've seen the Edgewalker. I want to buy the Edgewalker for my Ewok cleric deck because this looks like it should be an Ewok cleric.
Oh, right. Sand person.
Yeah, that's actually better. Yeah.
Edgewalker is one colorless, one white, one black. Summon Cleric, 2/2. Cleric spells you play cost one white and one black less to play. This effect reduces only the amount of colored mana you pay. For example, if you play a cleric with mana cost one white, one colorless, it costs one colorless to play. So I like this guy. He's pretty cool. Or she. Uh, I like I like cards that reduce the casting cost of my other cards.
Yeah, I was gonna say those cards, they're always good to play. Yeah.
And I like the effect that this one has seems pretty unique to me because a lot of the time is they reduce the colorless mana of a card
Mm-hmm.
in the casting cost. And if they reduce the colored mana, it's always only just like one type of colored mana. This hits both the white and the black,
Mm-hmm.
which I feel like would be very useful for mana fixing if it weren't for the fact that you need the white and the black to summon the Edgewalker to
Yeah.
begin with.
Yeah.
But still, if you have a few things that require multiple types of one mana in there, or you just want to make your clerics like easier to cast, uh, could be cool.
Yeah, not bad, but not great. Yeah, when you
Yeah,
consider the
not
fact that
great.
you need one of each colored mana out already in order to play it. And on top of that, it's three. It's three casting costs for a 2/2 with a special ability.
Yeah, it might be nice if it was like 2/3 or something like that instead. So yeah, I don't know. This is an interesting card, but I'm not like clamoring to put it into my decks. I'm trying to think if any of the decks I listed below today had it in it.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a card I've seen before, and I've often thought, oh, I should pick some of those up, and I just never pick them up because
Mhm.
I don't know what I'm going to use it for, or whether or not I'll ever end up using it. But it is unique.
All right, well, next multicolored cleric is the Samite Archer.
This one doesn't sound familiar to me at all.
I just saw this for the first time a little while ago.
From Invasion. Yeah, I don't think I've seen this. Oh, here we got a blue-white cleric.
Crossbow cleric. One white, one blue, one colorless for a 1/1. And she has two tap abilities. You can tap her to prevent the next one damage that would be dealt to target creature or player this turn, or you can tap her to deal one damage to target creature or player. So she's like a
Okay.
Samite healer and a prodigal sorcerer
Yeah.
combined, right?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. What do you think about this card?
I like it.
It's not awful.
No. I don't know if I'll ever put it in a deck, but I would like draft it. If I,
Yeah,
I'd
okay.
be pretty
Yeah.
excited to get this in draft
Yeah.
because I was just thinking the other day, like I need to start playing around more with creatures with Timmy abilities. These
I always like that. I think they're
pingers.
fun.
And I don't play them very often.
Well, it's nice
Uh,
for us to see more creatures that do that now compared to when we used to play. We only had a couple options.
Yeah. There was a merfolk that I was thinking about putting in like a blue-red build that I'm playing with. I can't remember what it's called, but I think it's one blue, one red. You could tap it to do 1 damage.
Oh yeah, I know that card.
Something merfolk. I
Yep,
can't remember.
yep.
Razorback merfolk, something like that.
I like that card because it's only 2 total casting cost, I think, instead of being 3
Yeah, it
like a
is.
lot
Yeah.
of other Tim cards.
I can't
Um,
remember the name of it, but you know exactly what I'm talking
yeah,
about.
I know what you're talking about. I had it in a little stack here actually, but I
Hmm.
moved my cards, so where was it pull it at?
And if you don't have anything to ping out on the battlefield, preventing 1 damage isn't that great, but it's not bad to have as a backup ability if you just have nothing to
Yeah.
ping.
Mhm.
Yeah, I could see it coming in handy sometimes.
I would like it if the prevent damage ability on this card did not require tapping, like if you paid like 1 mana for it or something.
Yeah.
Like tap it to do the damage, but then you could like pay mana, sort of like a shaman and core or whatever.
Hmm.
Uh, but it's
But
all
it's
right. I could see
interesting.
myself maybe throwing this into something.
Yeah, I could see myself drafting it. Maybe put it in a commander deck where you don't have a lot of options for like direct damage in blue and white,
Huh.
and you got to run one-offs. This might be a decent one of, an unexpected one of. Okay.
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 Next card, Steve. Wandering Mage
It's from Alliances.
is
Yeah.
not very good, but I felt like I should include it because it's a multicolored cleric that does different things. Um, it's 1 white, 1 blue, 1 black for a 0/3 cleric. Has 3 abilities. You can pay a white to pay 1 life and prevent 2 damage to any creature. You can pay a blue to prevent 1 damage to any cleric or wizard. You can pay a black to put a -1/-1 counter on target creature you control to prevent up to 2 damage to any player. They should
Yeah.
word that the other way. They should say prevent 2 damage to any creature or player. Put a -1. Maybe not. I don't know.
Maybe they did.
In any case,
No, they didn't. This card, I like it less as I go down. Like the more I read, the less I like it.
yeah,
Like the white ability, I'm like, that's not great. And what's blue? Prevent 1 damage to just a cleric or a wizard. Ugh, okay, I like that even less. And then the black ability, prevent 2 damage just to a player, and you got to put a -1/-1 counter on a creature you control.
yeah.
And then you look at the power toughness, it's a 0/3. It's like as I go down the card, I like it less and less. I wonder if I would never play this card.
And 3 mana to cast. Yeah.
And three mana, 3 different colors.
It's like it wants to be versatile with the 3 different abilities, but like now you have to make sure you have the right color mana to use the ability you want at the right time, and none of them are great.
None of them are
So,
great.
yeah. Sorry. I shouldn't have even put this on the list.
I don't love Wandering Mage. It's an
Moving on
embarrassment.
quickly. Moving on quickly.
Okay.
Next, multicolored cleric that you probably didn't know was a cleric is Angus Mackenzie.
Oh shit.
Ragnar is too, though.
Oh,
Ragnar stinks.
let's go to Ragnar first because I typed him in already.
He's a cleric.
An original legend, summon legend, Ragnar, 1 blue,
Hulk Hogan.
1 white, 1 green, 2/2, regenerate target creature. He doesn't look like a cleric. I don't like this guy being a cleric. I forgot what his ability was. So he has a cleric-like ability,
Yeah, he doesn't look like a cleric, though.
but he doesn't look like a cleric. He's got a big crow behind him, but there's no crow flavor or bird flavor built into him at all.
Yeah, like a
I don't
random crow shadow.
I don't know what crow flavor would be, but I don't know. Maybe you should get something flying or something.
Maybe it's a raven.
Okay,
I
still,
vote raven.
still.
Not that
Maybe he
matters.
should give something flying. Ravens don't regenerate target creatures.
No. Yeah, this is a weird card.
It's a very weird card.
Um,
It's currently $40. I didn't know Ragnar
What?
was that expensive. I mean, it's a legend. It must be a legend rare, I
Yeah.
guess.
Oh. Anyways, Angus
I
Mackenzie,
I did not think of this
a
guy
little more
as,
interesting than Ragnar.
yeah. Angus is great. Tons of fun. Fantastic art. Same casting cost as Ragnar. Same power toughness as Ragnar, right? Right?
I don't know. I forgot what Ragnar was
So
already.
did
I
I.
think
Yes, I'm
so. He
right.
was 2-2. Yeah.
Blue, white, green. Blue, white, green. Uh, 6 times the price of Ragnar, but 6 times the value, in my opinion. Good
Yeah.
value for Angus Mackenzie. Fog on a stick, right?
Hmm. For an inconvenient amount and colors of mana, but nonetheless, you can still use them to fog it up.
Yeah, one of the coolest legendary creatures from Legends, the original
Yeah.
legendary creatures, the original Summon Legends. One of the most expensive, probably the most expensive, actually.
Really?
I don't know if he is currently the most expensive, but I believe it's always Angus and Gwendolyn.
I was gonna say Gwendolyn, yeah. But you're right. I know he is pricey.
$250 according
Wow.
to Scryfall right now. Gwendolyn is about 200.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like
She's
this
not
as a
she's not a
good
cleric.
example of an old legendary creature, though. It's not insane to cast. It's three
Hmm.
colors, but it's just one mana of each. It has an ability that still is relevant today and good today, even though
Hmm.
it costs a fair amount of mana to use. Like it's pretty cool. It's definitely a unique kind of card.
Yeah. It's very legendary. I mean, this is the kind of thing that was so cool about opening packs of Legends.
Yeah.
We'd see like badass creatures like this. They were just so different from the normal things you were
Yeah.
used to opening. Grizzly bears are great, but this is no grizzly bear. Giant spiders are great, but this is so much different than a giant spider or a
Yeah.
dragon whelp or a shivan. This changed up the gameplay when somebody brought an Angus Mackenzie to town. You're playing a different
Battles no
game now.
longer served a purpose in Caracas.
What'd you say?
The flavor
Oh,
quote, battles no longer
oh,
served a purpose in Caracas. Some neat flavor.
no, it's a great card.
And then two other ones from Legends that they turned into clerics as well. K Kai Takahashi.
I would say Kai, but I'm not sure. Another original legend. I did not think of all these original legends as being clerics, but I guess it makes sense. Tap to prevent up to 2 damage to one creature. Not good. This is another one nobody plays. That's why
Yeah.
it's only $13.24. Also, it's reprinted in Chronicles.
And then Lady Evangela.
This is the kind of card where, they brought out Chronicles and we were like, oh yes, we can get our hands on some of these cards we always wanted. And then like we realized we never wanted this card.
Yeah, yeah.
Some stuff was cool. Bloodlust was cool. City of Brass was cool. Killer Bees, even. I believe Killer Bees was in Chronicles, or was that fourth edition? I think it was Chronicles. But then, yeah, like nobody wanted Kai Takahashi. Nobody.
Lady
Lady
Evangela is maybe a
Evangel.
little better.
She's a little better.
She's a little better.
A little bit more expensive, too. Also not reprinted in Chronicles. It is a reserve list card. Unique proportions on the lady.
Unique how?
She has a withered left arm. It looks like she didn't
Oh,
get a lot of activity there.
a
Nerve
withered left
damage.
arm.
Maybe she has nerve damage.
Yeah, maybe. Because otherwise she has kind of a Xena warrior princess vibe
Xena with nerve damage in
with a
her left
withered
arm.
arm.
It happens sometimes to even the greatest of warriors. Boss Rutan has severe
Boss
nerve
Rutan.
damage and
I
one of his
know,
arms
I
shrunk.
know,
Yeah.
I know.
Uh,
He'd still beat me.
what'd you say?
He would still beat me silly.
Yeah, he'd headbutt you and kick you in the nuts and you'd be
Yeah.
dead.
I'd be dead.
He'd pulverize your nuts with one front kick. He doesn't need an arm to fight you. Anyways, Lady of Angela, 1 black, 1 blue, 1 white, 1, 2. Her ability just requires 2 of the 3 colored mana. 1 black, 1 white tap. Target creature doesn't. She's a limited, she's a very limited Angus. Target creature does no damage during combat this turn. But that actually might be more, I mean, that will be more useful in some cases, but overall, not nearly as good of a card. Not nearly as powerful.
Yeah.
But you know, you can send your attackers towards people and have their blockers deal no damage if you have the mana out.
Yeah, it's good for a
Tap the lady.
one-to-one trade. It's not as good for a like a whole like stopping of combat thing.
Yeah, not as good as you can't really build your strategy around the lady the way you could build your strategy around Angus in a commander deck or something.
Yeah. Um, and this is interesting, I guess, for like a black-white, since we see so much black-white cleric stuff, like her ability is a black-white ability. There's blue splashed into her casting cost, so that's a little bit inconvenient.
Mhm.
But I don't hate this card.
No, it's not terrible. It's interesting for an old legend. I like it.
The quote's by Lady Gabriella. That's another uh uh Xeno warrior princess coincidence there.
Oh, there's no magic card called Lady Gabriella.
Oh no, I just that was
Was Gabriella like the younger?
yeah, I
Well,
think
okay.
Gabrielle or Gabriella. I don't know. You watch Xena more than I did, I think.
I was gonna say I'd never watched Xena. I don't know why you thought I
Oh, okay.
watched Xena
I
Warrior
don't know why I
Princess.
thought you did that. Because
Xena was
I
like
thought it was too
always
hokey.
on television every
Yeah,
night when we were
that and
young, but
Hercules
yeah,
were
I never watched a
they were
single
just too hokey
episode.
for me. They were really like
They were terrible.
yeah.
They were terrible. And now Kevin Sorbo just
Being a
spends his
nut
entire
job.
life, tweeting like deranged shit.
Yeah.
It's like, brother, you're the luckiest man alive. Like, he made a fortune uh acting in one of the worst television shows
Yeah.
ever made.
Just be
And
happy and retire.
exactly. Exactly. Like, just chill out. You don't have you shouldn't be that angry. You hit the lottery 100,000 times over.
All right. Well, I saved the maybe the best multicolored cleric for last. Asmira Holy Avenger is a cleric, Steve.
I didn't know that, even though I run as Mirror Holy Avenger in my commander
Oh,
deck called the Pump.
oh, yeah, okay.
And I run this card in my commander deck called the Pump because it gets pumped +1/+1 every time a creature is put into my graveyard from play.
Yeah, I forgot this was a cleric. I sort of associate it more with like angels because of the like wiggy fabricy artwork
I
there.
thought it was an angel.
And there's like the halo, the holy halo sun thing around
I thought it was
behind
an
her head. I don't
angel.
know if that's supposed to be a sun or a holy halo around her head, but
It's a holy halo.
yeah, I think so. So very angel looking, but actually a cleric. And this is our first white-green cleric,
Yeah,
or green in general. Um, it's a good card.
it is. I like it very much. I thought about when I first saw it again. I mean, I remembered it from Mirage, but when we got back into Magic and I'm like, oh, I'm going to make an old frame commander deck. And I want my commander to kind of be an older legend. What am I going to choose? Well, before I bought any of the original legends from Legends, I thought about Asmira. And then actually, one of the very first podcasts I learned about when we started playing again was the Command Zone, which is a very popular commander focused podcast. And one of the first episodes that I came across was an episode where the people on the show were talking about like commander decks that they built that they really wanted to be good, but they could just never get to work, like commanders that just never worked for them.
Mhm.
And one of the people came on and discussed his Asmira Holy Avenger deck.
Mm.
And he was like, yeah, I want it to work, but it just never, you think you want it to do this thing. You're like, oh, it's low casting cost. And just for its base ability, it's not bad for a 2/3 flyer. And it has this tremendous potential for upside, but it never fulfills that potential. Everybody just kills it. It gets no +1/+1 counters. That's what these
Yeah,
people were saying.
it
Now
seems like that.
I'm not running my deck around as Mira. I'm just putting it
Yeah,
in as one of my
that's the
horde.
thing. The ability's cool, but if you're gonna try to rely on that ability, now you have to like make sure you're getting lots of creatures into your graveyard,
Yeah.
and that's a bit convoluted.
Yep.
But I mean, so I have a lot of thoughts here, Steve.
Mhm.
It's white green, which is cool, but all of the stuff that is going to allow you to sacrifice clerics is going to be in black. So now you're
Yeah.
talking about a 3-color cleric deck. Um, which I mean, I guess maybe you can make work if this is about your only green, or I mean, you have green mana fixing too, so there's that. But going to get trickier to balance a 3-color deck, and you're going to want the black for that graveyard effect that she has.
I wouldn't want to make it work just to put
Yeah.
like I wouldn't want to put green in just to stick as Holy Avenger in a cleric deck, and I believe she should not be a cleric. I don't like that she's a cleric. Esmira is an angel. And don't tell me these aren't wings. Don't tell me this is cloth.
That's cloth.
Don't tell me that. It's supposed to be wings. Don't tell me this is a face. Don't tell me that's a nose. That's part of her wing.
Oh wow, that is a nose, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
What the heck is going on there?
I don't know.
Huh.
I'm not sure.
Weird.
I had no idea it was a cleric. I still think it's an angel, and I might play it in my angel deck and just pretend that it's an angel because everybody I'm playing against will also think it's an angel. It flies. You're going to tell me she doesn't have wings. It flies.
Yeah, true,
She.
true. Um, so tokens are destroyed when they go to the graveyard, but I think they would still trigger this ability because they go to
Yep.
the graveyard and then get destroyed, right?
Yep. I just looked this
Okay.
up the other day. Yeah.
Okay, so that's good.
Yeah. Also works well with like echo creatures if you don't want to pay the echo.
Oh yeah, I like that. I like doing that. Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, I like Asmira. She's cool. Tricky to work into like maybe a 3-color deck now, but
Yeah.
it makes me want to try playing a green cleric deck, a cleric or a what am I saying? A cleric deck with green in it.
Hmm.
Um, Speaking of which, I have 2 bonus greenies for you.
Okay.
I wasn't sure we'd find any green clerics, but there are 2. I'll look through blue as well. There's a couple, but none of them were really worth mentioning. Uh, there's a bad one from Fallen Empires that is a blue merfolk cleric.
I'll show you a shitty one later in the episode.
Okay.
You might already know it.
2 green creatures. We have Thelonite Druid.
Also from Fallen Empires. I'm gonna grab something real quick. You know what? There's a guy I saw on Twitter. No, I didn't see him on Twitter. I saw him on Instagram the other day, and I bought something from him. I wish I remembered his screen name. It was like Old Fogey something or other.
Mm-hmm.
I'll pull it up. I'll look it up real quick because I know I can find it easily. Let me get on the thing. Fogey V. Fogey V. Old School Fogey on Instagram.
Okay.
He's a Canadian old school player, and he posted some zines. He started making zines, and I was like, "Oh, sweet zines! These remind me from back in the day. I never had any Magic the Gathering zines, but I always liked zine culture, music zines, counterculture zines. And issue number 2 of Interrupt, a Canadian old school Magic the Gathering zine, is all about Fallen Empires.
Oh, whoa, cool.
And there was one page in here where he was like, pack one, pick one. So he showed 8 different cards from Fallen Empires. It's like if you were drafting, what's your first pick? And
Oh,
one of
okay.
them was Stellanite Druid. And that was the number 1 pick for 3 of the 5 people.
Oh, okay.
And I agreed. I read this card. I was reminded of this card in this episode, in this issue, actually.
Oh,
And I
okay.
thought, this isn't bad at all. Like, this is a potential game
I
ender.
just came across this again, doing like working on this show, and I was like, hey, this is surprisingly not terrible.
Not terrible. Yeah.
Uh, it's 1 green, 2 colorless for a 1/1, and it has ability. You can tap it, pay a green and a colorless, sacrifice a creature, and you can sacrifice the druid to itself to do this.
Yeah.
Sacrifice a creature, turn all of your forests into 2/3 creatures until end of turn.
Yeah.
They cannot be tapped for mana. Uh, so I mean, it's a living lands type effect. I like that it makes them all 2/3. You could make a big horde of land creatures this way.
Can't be
Uh,
pyroclasmed.
oh, okay.
That's a
Um,
benefit.
yeah. And yeah, you can sacrifice the druid to itself to do this. Not terrible.
Not bad at all. Not bad for, as especially in a low powered environment, or if you just, I mean, even again in a commander deck, just a fun, casual commander deck.
Hmm.
People won't expect to see the Thelonite Druid.
No,
And I guess you wouldn't want to have too many colors, or else you're not going to have that many forests out. But
I could see this working nicely with like concordant crossroads, maybe, because now you can like maybe cast this guy and use them immediately before they can do anything. They're not
mhm,
expecting it. Use a little bit of mana to do it, but
yeah,
uh, something like that might be neat.
you got to be smart about when you use it.
Yeah.
But
The
yeah,
art on this
potential.
reminded me of my old Grimm's Fairy Tales book that I brought up before.
Okay,
Uh, it's like same of I don't know if you can see this, but it's like
I can kind of see it. Yeah,
kind of similar artwork.
this woman has a lot of really cool art. Actually, from I associate her with Homelands, but apparently she also did Fallen Empires. I
Oh, okay.
believe. I don't know why. I could be wrong associating her with Homelands, but I think she did a lot of cards in Homelands. Margaret Organ Keen. I think she might have done
Probably.
Autumn Willow too. Did she do
Oh,
Autumn
okay.
Willow? She always had good art. Yeah.
There
So
you go.
she's the Autumn Willow artist.
Good call, Steve.
Yeah. I always liked her stuff. Thelonite Druid. Interesting. Interesting cleric. Are all druids clerics?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I shouldn't have said that. I don't know. I have
They
no idea.
might
I
be.
don't think so, no, because there's a lot of druids that are just druids.
Just straight up druids. Okay.
Yeah. Um, this is a weird one. I was trying to figure out how to say this. I think it's Thelonite when I think about it and try to say it, but when I look at this card and read it in my head, I'm like Thelonite Druid. Uh,
I would say
that-
Thelonite too. I don't know
so I had to
why.
like fix that when I said it out loud to be like, it's probably Thelonite.
Is Thelonite an actual word? I mean, it is a
I
word
don't
because
think
it's
so. I
written
think it's
down.
a made up magic type of people.
I think so too.
All the stuff that comes up is from magic when I type that in. So,
Yeah. The Thelonites were druids and monks who used blood sacrifices in order to bring about new life.
oh, and that's why this sacrifices a creature.
Thelon of Havenwood was an elven druid from Sarpadia during the Fallen Empires period of Dominaria's Dark Age. So the Thelonites, I guess, are followers of Thelon or ancestors of Thelon. I don't know. Not ancestors. The inverse. Children,
Descendants.
descendants of Thelon, potentially.
I'm trying to remember now. Hmm.
Thelon's chant, Thelon's curse. I'm recognizing all this art. I can't remember what the cards do, but
Okay, so that what you just read about the Thelonites was interesting because earlier I saw a Thelonite monk.
Thelonious Monk.
Good job, Steve. Thelonite monk from Fallen Empires is a mantis-y looking creature guy.
Yeah.
And that also sacrifices a creature to turn a target land into a forest.
An insect monk cleric.
And I remember this because I saw the flavor text on it earlier, and it said, as the climate worsened, some Thelonites turned to fertilizing with fresh blood in an attempt to keep Havenwood alive and growing. So all these Thelonites are all about the blood
Blood
sacrifices to keep
sacrifices.
the forest going.
Bunch of demented forest druid
Yeah,
clerk insects
yeah,
running around Sarpedia during the Dark Ages. That's what you do during the Dark Ages.
I guess.
Blood sacrifices.
The other green card was Sylvan Hierophant.
Oh shit. I'm spelling Hierophant. You know what this means, Alex? I'm spelling Hierophant incorrectly.
Yeah, I-E.
I.e.
H-I-E. Like, you know what this means.
Oh, I spelled Sylvan wrong. I spelled Sliven. Well, this wasn't really a spelling error. It's more of a typo.
You're all over the place.
What am I doing? I did it again. I did Sliven again. Here we go. Ah, Weatherlight. Beautiful card. Beautiful.
I like Weatherlight.
No blood sacrifices here. This is
No,
post Dark Ages. This is the Light Ages.
this is a much more friendly butterflies and deer type of cleric. Um, one green, one colorless, 1/2. If Sylvan Hierophant is put into any graveyard from play, remove it from the game, then return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So, just a little creature return type cleric here.
Yeah.
The problem I have with these cards is that there's just not enough like green cleric action. You know what I mean? Like I'd be splashing this in pretty much. Right?
I'll say it again. Anytime I feel like I keep saying this because we're running into a lot of like low casting cost, decent creatures for their mana, decent, interesting value creatures. I just see all this stuff and I'm like, oh, a one of in a casual commander deck.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, might be cool in Commander.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was that.
Or my
As far as-
red-green ball lightning deck. Tutor ball.
Okay.
3 ball lightnings, 4 worldly tutors, 4 Sylvan Hierophants, 4 regrowths. All I do is I tutor 4 and cast ball lightning and then bring it back and cast ball lightning. It's called tutor ball. It's not very good because it actually takes on average more turns than like an average red burn deck to kill you. But I don't care. All I do is tutor for ball lightning and cast ball lightning.
Okay. Well, I put a couple decks in to look
Okay.
at.
Okay. We saw the black clerics. We saw a few green clerics too. We saw some gold clerics. Last episode, we saw white clerics and we went over white cleric decks.
Mhm.
Now we're going to go over mostly black cleric decks. Is that what you're going to show me?
Well, yeah, I have 2 black cleric decks for you, and then a couple
Say black
multicolored
cleric
decks.
deck 5 times fast.
So we had someone in our comments last week chime in, and they were talking about a mono black cleric deck. I can't remember exactly what they said. They were talking about a mono black cleric deck that they were running and they were interested and they hoped that we would address something like that. I don't
Yeah,
know if this is
something, I think it was like something along the lines of they used to play something like this back in the day, and they mentioned that there was a black cleric deck doing well in some European tournaments at the moment.
okay.
So you went looking, and it could
Yeah.
be this or something like this.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is quite what they were talking about, but I hope it's relevant. This is a, straight black cleric deck.
It's a Mono
Um,
Black Clerics by Jose Maria Toledo. Made the top four in technology. Technologia. Why is that hard for me to say? Pronounce that, Alex.
Technoliga.
Tecnoliga Valenciana de Premodern. Tecnoliga Valenciana de Premodern.
We're not multilingual
No.
podcasters here. Sorry.
We both took
Mispronouncing.
Spanish class for 3 years in high school, but in our defense, not even our Spanish teacher could speak Spanish. That's what we were working with. When you learn a second language, and I put learn in quotes, I say learn very loosely. When you learn a second language in an average American high school, you usually have a teacher who cannot speak that second language they're attempting to teach you. Am I wrong, Alex?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe they do. Yeah.
Did any of our high school teachers, were any of them fluent in the languages they were teaching?
I
I,
I don't
I,
I don't
I
think
don't
so.
feel like our Spanish teachers were actually fluent in Spanish.
No.
We barely, we did we even converse in Spanish class, or did we
That was, it
just,
was it was not immersive. No, it was
no,
not an immersive
not at
language
all.
program. So
So like if our Spanish teacher could speak Spanish, she was doing her damnedest to hide that fact from us.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Anyways,
anyways, this deck, I like the core of this deck, like the creature core of it. It's most of the ones that I would want to play. Priest of Gix, Cabal Archon, Rotlung Reanimator for me are pretty much just like those are filling up 12 spots in a black cleric deck that I make. Uh,
definitely, yeah. Piece of
Withered
Gigs,
Wretch
Kabar, Ratling
two,
Reanimator.
obviously, like everyone seems to be playing it. Uh, I don't know if I'd start off with four, but I'd at least put some in and have some in the sideboard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I love the Dark Supplicant Sign of Darkness combo.
Mm-hmm.
So that seems to have a place. Order of the Ebon Hand. This was the reason I brought up Order of the Ebon Hand because I saw it in here, but I guess that is not a pre-modern legal card.
Unless we're wrong, but I don't think it is.
When you pulled it up on the one thing, it said Red X pre-modern. I don't think it was.
What did I pull that up on that said that?
Uh,
In Scryfall?
yeah.
Oh, why did I think Scryfall was not telling me whether or not? Because I'm looking here at the legalities of cards in Scryfall, and it doesn't tell me. It doesn't
Um,
list.
okay, so it wasn't. It was one of the other sites you had up though. Which one were you looking at?
I was gonna pull it up in Moxfield, but then I didn't. Uh, you can search for cards in Scryfall, and you can look at only cards that are legal in pre-modern. But when you just pull up the card and look at that list
It
of
just doesn't show
formats,
you
it
there.
doesn't tell you the legality.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about here? Order of the Ebon Hand?
Yeah. It's not showing it printed in anything other than Fallen Empires, so it can't be.
Yeah, I type in Order of the Ebon Hand here, and it legal pre-modern, it doesn't. And what was the other one? I could do this for another Fallen Empires card that we know was printed in 5th edition. What was the one with the cleric with the eyeball on the chest?
Oh, Initiates of the Ebon Hand.
Initiates. So let me search for initiates. Pre-modern legal. Yeah, this pops up just fine. Yes, I don't think Order of the Ebon Hand is actually legal in a
Yeah.
pre-modern
So I
because
don't know.
it's
Yeah. I don't know why it was included in this deck list, but uh anyways, sub something else out for that. I don't think it's super, super crucial.
yeah.
Um
It would
Kervek's
need in
Spite.
this deck though. I like the curve. So you got your Dark Supplicants as your 1-drop.
Mhm.
And this is a great one drop because it has a potential to very quickly bring out a 6/6 trampler.
Mhm.
And then right one more mana up the curve, you can, for Withered Wretches, a 2/2 with a special ability, and you got your Pump Knights. And then you got three casting cost creatures and Priest of Gix, Cabal Archon, Rotling Reanimator. So this is the kind of deck I like to play. I like to curve out value creatures. That's the kind of magic I like to play. And then I back them up with removal, some utility spells, stuff like that.
Mhm.
You know, simple, straightforward strategies that tend to be pretty versatile if you put the right spells to back up your creatures.
Mhm.
But yeah, I like the creature package here.
Um, so then it has just happened here. Weird. Um, Kaervek Spite is the card I brought up earlier as a
Mhm.
finisher.
Okay.
And I like that in here in a mono black deck.
Yeah.
Sacrifice all permanents, discard your hand, target player loses 5 life.
Yeah.
Um, maybe even not the worst downside for you to recover from, in a black deck because you're not removing any of it from the game. You know what I mean? You could be unearthing some of that stuff back into play or oversold cemeterying it back into play if you need to, uh, if you can't actually finish them with the Carevex spike.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Unearth
you
might
just
be
want to play
hard.
it to finish them.
I mean, Unearth might be hard because you have to discard it from your hand. But if you have a permanent out that can bring things back from your graveyard, right? Like an oversold cemetery. Do you know what I'm saying? Am I saying
No, I
the
don't.
right thing?
No.
Well, you're talking about unearthing it, but you'll have to draw unearth after. You'll have to wait to draw unearth to get things back from your graveyard because Kaervek Spike, it's not just sacrifice all your permanents, so it's also discard
Oh,
your
and
hand.
discard your hand. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry.
So it's not like you can have an unearth in your hand and play Kaervek Spite and then bring
Yeah,
things
yeah.
back.
Okay.
You got to draw into it.
True.
But good with permanents in black that bring things back from your graveyard, and there are plenty of permanents.
Okay. Yeah, good call.
Bulrash Stronghold, for instance. You can start rebuilding your creatures.
This has the Patriarchs bidding again.
Yeah.
Um, I also like the Baron Moor in here in the lands.
Don't even know what that is.
It's the comes into play tapped, but it's a cycling
Oh,
land.
a cycling land. Okay.
So I like, you might want to be thinning out your deck a little bit as the game goes on in mono black. You don't want to you want to keep drawing swamps that you don't need later on. So
Mhm.
having some cycling in there, and this is cool.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a low mana curve deck too. I mean, pretty much everything you're gonna hard cast is 3 mana other than Patriarch's Bidding, which would just be like a potential finisher
and
in a
plus you have
game.
Dark Rituals to help. So
Plus you have Dark Ritual.
yeah. And so duress, I mean, this is in most of these decks, most black decks in general.
Most black decks in pre-modern are gonna run 4 duress because it's just so good. Yeah.
It's just there. Uh Skeletal Scrying's in here. I just tried playing with this recently, and it was okay, and I'm still on the fence about it a little bit.
I've seen this
Um,
card show up in a lot of different decks, and I always forget what it does. I've never played it myself. Instant 1 black X as an additional cost to cast Skeletal Scrying. Exile X cards from your graveyard. You draw X cards and you lose X life.
so like when I look at this card, I'm thinking, you're gonna you cast this card, you're almost always gonna do. Let me think about this before I say it. Maybe I'm saying the wrong thing here.
Three
I
damage.
feel, huh?
I just said 3 damage. I don't know.
Well, I was gonna say you're gonna spend at least 2 for X, right? You're gonna try to, right? You don't want to just cast this to like bring 1 card back.
I would wait a little bit longer. Yeah.
And when you get to like black 3 or black 4, you're starting to get into like a higher casting cost thing that's probably like a little more difficult. So you're probably casting it for black 2 or black 3 most of the time.
3 would be my sweet spot. I don't know why.
Okay. Okay.
If I were to not think about it and just you put this card in my hand, you said play it now. Do it. Do it now,
Yeah.
Steve. I'd go
I'd try to do
3.
it for 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So I look at that and then I'm thinking, well, why not like Phyrexian Arena instead?
The reason is because it's going to get removed.
Okay, yeah,
That's the reason I could think of.
okay. But I'd still be tempted to do it anyways.
Yeah.
Because I mean, well, but I know you're using the Caravex Spike just to finish them, so it probably doesn't matter. But uh, this would get rid of the skeletal scrying in your hand as opposed to like you just said, having a permanent down. No, no, you'd have to sacrifice all permanents. Never mind.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's not important because you're not going to use Caravex Spite unless you're going to win the game, probably.
Yeah, I think Caravex by finisher.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. Skeletal Scrying, I'd be tempted to try Phyrexian Arena instead, or maybe
Mhm.
something else.
I should try. I'm tempted to try both.
Yeah.
I think maybe the Phyrexian Arena. I haven't played much with it at all. I think I've only played with it once, couple games. I wouldn't be surprised if it got removed from the board most of the time before it was able to actually do anything for you. Like, let's say you Dark Ritual it out. That's the dream, right? You're
And
like,
then
hey,
they
I get
remove it
that on
randomly.
turn. I get that on turn one. So then all of a sudden I'm drawing 2 cards for every turn after turn one. You have to have it out for 3 turns in order for it to start paying for itself. And in order to get ahead using it,
Because you use 2 cards
2 cards.
to bring it out.
And how many times is somebody going to let it sit there for, like, if they have a enchantment removal, it's going to get played against the Phyrexian Arena. So I just
Yeah.
wonder, like, on average, how beneficial it is in an average game. How many extra cards does the average person get from a Phyrexian Arena when they're playing it? Because it's
Okay.
major target for removal, whereas the Skeletal Scrying,
Just get it.
it's an instant. You can play it more strategically uh, and make sure you get some extra cards from it.
Okay, that you're convincing me. I think that
I'm
makes sense.
wondering. I'm wondering.
I see the upside there.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, anyways, I like the general core of this deck. It's, you know, creature wise, it's similar to what I would start with. Um, I like the unearths. Duress is almost an auto include. Uh, I don't mind the Caravex Spite as a finisher.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily like an auto include maybe, but it's, I see people run it sometimes, and you could do that or something else. But it's cool. I'd play with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I like this.
I was gonna say direct damage or something, but here we got Cabal Archon. Uh no creature removal, right? It's the only thing that I would be a little bit worried about. I guess you have, sideboard. That's the sideboard. So this person's worried about it too against certain types of opponents, and that's when he sideboards in
Still,
either
to
the
not
Force
have any in
Mother.
your deck standard, and then to have to sideboard in your creature removal, that seems a little risky, maybe.
Yeah,
Um,
going all in on this strategy. But I
yeah,
like this strategy. I like curving out value creatures and playing utility spells behind it. That's my
okay,
jam.
all right.
Okay.
Well, I put another mono black deck in here,
Okay.
just to contrast.
Clerics deck by Emilio Bose. Bose. Top 4, Friday Night Magic, Bazaar of Baghdad, Argentina. 8 players. December 1st, 2023. Main deck, 61 cards. He's a wild man. We got a loose
I like
cannon over
I like
here.
the style. I like his style. So you have a lot of the same creatures to start off with, although you have Initiates of the Ebon Hand in here, and you have Shepherd of Ra.
Yes. 2 Shepherd of Ra, which is tapped to do 1 damage for each zombie.
Yeah. And
Which
this
what are the
deck's a little
zombies
more
here?
zombie focused.
Withered Wretch is a zombie. Rotling Reanimator is a zombie.
Yeah.
So you got your 4 zombies plus Shepherd Erratas. You got 10 zombies.
Yeah. And the Rottler Reanimator brings the zombies in, obviously. So
Oh yes, the zombie tokens too. Okay.
um
some main deck creature removal and snuff out. And you got more discard here. He goes only 3 duress, but then he goes 3 Cabal Therapy, which is another very powerful discard spell.
And that's in a lot of these, obviously.
10 tons of black pre-modern decks. He goes the 1 Scion of Darkness route.
Yeah.
With the 4 Dark Supplicants, because why not?
And then the lands are more varied in this. The last deck we looked at was just the swamps and the cycle lands.
Yeah.
This deck's using the Volraths, it's using Ancient Tombs, it's using Phyrexian Tower, it has Wastelands for removal. The one thing I didn't understand was the Bloodstained Mire. There are no red cards in here, right?
Correct.
Okay, so he's just using that then as a fetch land for other swamps?
I was gonna say, well, maybe you want to put this in just as a deck thinner.
Yeah.
Because, maybe sometimes you just have 56 cards you want to run. So you put in 4 fetch lands.
Yeah.
You're really just around 56. But he ran 61 cards, so that can't be it. Is there anything here that you have to
Nothing.
There's nothing. So the last deck we looked in, there was a card that there was Skeletal Scryings, remove X cards from your graveyard. So maybe, this would help you get cards in your graveyard faster, but he doesn't have Skeletal Scryings here. That one's a mystery to me. Things like fetch lands too become dangerous when you have, stuff like Shepherd Errata out here too, when you're tapping to remove 1 life from each person for each zombie on the battlefield, because you're introducing things that could potentially lower your life faster than your opponent's life is lowered, and then you're doing equal amounts of damage to each other.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about those cycling lands in the last deck we looked at, and feel like maybe I'd try that over the Bloodstained Mire.
I don't know the reason for Bloodstained Mire. We might just be missing something obvious here, but I'm not figuring it out just looking at this deck right now. There's nothing in here that would make you want to land in your graveyard. There's nothing in here that would make you want to build your graveyard faster for any reason. I don't even see anything in the sideboard. I don't have an answer for that, Alex.
Yeah, I don't know. So that stood out to me as weird, weird, but I figured it was just for like some attempted deck thinning.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that is it. And I was just like, oh, it's not for, maybe it's not for deck thinning, because why would you run 61 cards and then want to thin your deck? What am I not thinking about? Am I thinking about this incorrectly? Anywho, I don't know. But similar to the last deck. More, slightly different spell package. More discard, less card draw.
Yeah. The only thing, both of these are using a similar creature package to what I did when I made my first cleric deck before I started looking into the stuff for this episode. And I ended up using most of the same creatures, so I feel good about that. The one thing I had in that these decks don't seem to use is the Headhunter, just because, we already talked about that, why I like it. I think it's pretty cool. But other than that, the core of Cabal Archon, Rotlung Reanimator, and Priest of Gix, at least for those 3, if you don't want to do the Dark Supplicant thing. Like, those 3 cards are just, they're awesome, and I want to put them in.
Yeah.
Also
runs 2 Ancient Tombs too. Scares me more with the
I was gonna ask about that too, and I'm wondering what the purpose of that really is. Like,
when I first saw the Ancient Tombs, I was like, oh, I like that Ancient Tomb actually, because you have multiple. You have 12 clerics here with a casting cost of 1 black and 2 colorless. So this helps you ramp them out even faster. One of those being Priest of Gix.
Yeah,
so you can get a swamp, Ancient Tomb, second turn Priest of Gix into a Kabar Archon or Rattling Reanimator, same
Yes.
turn.
But so then I wonder though, why not excuse me. Why not Cabal Coffers?
It's slower,
So okay, yeah.
right? Kabar.
Yeah,
I
it
can't
is.
remember. Yeah.
Yeah. It has a
Think so.
bigger upside, but probably takes a little while to get going. You won't pay the life for it, but yeah, maybe the Ancient Tomb probably just like helps you on your first couple turns a little more.
Yeah. I see the tomb and the mire, and I'm scared about the Shepherd of Rot, but you could just not tap the Shepherd.
Right, you don't have to use it.
You don't have to tap it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, it's a 1/1 for 2 mana, and you could sacrifice it to the Cabal Archon or something if you wanted to.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So I shouldn't be worried about that. Okay.
Well, that's yeah, slightly different version of the same thing-ish.
Okay.
And then I put a couple multicolored decks in just to see. This got a little tricky because with the white and black cleric balance, you can kind of make any different combination. You know what I mean? It just depends on which of the best clerics from each color you want to use and how much white, how much black. Some are mainly white with a little black, some are mainly black with a little white, some of them are 50-50. This one has the Edgewalker, 4 of them in fact.
Oh, geez.
Has Mother of Runes, which I would almost certainly put in if I had, a decent white presence. A couple of the cards we talked about from last week, like True Believer, Soltari Priest, Soltari Monk, Swords
Creature
for
heavy.
removal. Huh?
Creature heavy. Yeah, so like 20 creatures. The deck is called I Want to Go to Mass, I think. Kiro Iramisa,
Oh,
built by
oh,
Husky. Top
okay.
8. Yeah, four Mother Ruin. So black, white, 4 Mother Ruins because you put this in. You just do it.
Yeah, do it.
Soul Warden, which is a creature that I wasn't sure about, but I do see people play it sometimes. This is something you gain 1 life every time a white spell's played or something. It's in Spanish right now, so I'm forgetting.
I think it's
exactly.
any time a creature comes into play.
That looks more like it.
Yeah.
Siempre que otra criatura entre en juego, ganas 1 vida. That is what it is. Anytime a creature enters the battlefield or comes into play, gain 1 life.
Mhm.
And you're running 20 creatures. Your opponent will probably run some creatures too. Actually, not a bad 1-drop. I mean,
What's good about this, it's growing on me more, I think, because like you have the black effects that are gonna take away from your life. So it's nice to have something just to counteract that so that you're not like draining yourself down too much.
yeah. Yeah. And anytime a creature comes into play, it's not cast, right? So like if it's anytime it comes into play and not cast, your Rattling Reanimator or zombie tokens are generating stuff are also going to be gaining life for you.
Yeah, it's whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. And it's
Okay, so like
on both sides.
you could be sacrificing things to Cabal Archon. Let me think for a second. Sacrifice a cleric to Cabal Archon, drain 2 life from your opponent. You gain 2 life. The creature you sacrifice goes to the graveyard, generates a black zombie token. You gain a life from that for Soul Warden. You've gained 3 life, drained 2 from them. You've introduced a 5-point life differential.
Yeah.
Just by sacrificing one cleric. And you could do that multiple times. You don't have to even tap the Cabal Archon to make that happen. So if you get those 3 out, that's bad news for your opponent. And this is an aggressive deck, so I like the use of the Soltaris in here. The white shadow clerics.
Oh, because the unblockability, I see you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Swords to Plowshares, great removal.
Yep. Vindicate as well.
I was gonna
Once you,
say, yeah, is there a Vindicate in here? Yeah, Vindicate.
once you get into the white-black clerics, it seems like, yeah, most people are throwing Vindicate in, and I don't blame them.
So we have like a okay, all the utility spells that you see in like a Dead Guy Ale, because they're the really good black-white spells.
Mhm. Now, some
Cabal
of these,
Therapy, Duress, Vindicate,
a
Swords of
couple of these
Plowshares.
decks don't have Disenchant or Seal of, was it Seal of Cleansing?
Cleansing, yeah.
Yeah. Uh, so I mean, I would definitely try to have Seal of Cleansing in here, I think.
I would at least put them in the sideboard. I don't see it in the
I'm not
sideboard.
sure if I'm missing something else that can do that for them, but
No, maybe they're just not playing in a group that plays a lot of enchantments. Maybe there's just some typical opponents aren't. Maybe it's a meta thing, just not a lot of enchantment heavy decks or artifact heavy decks. I always am afraid of the dreadnought. So I'm like, okay, I need 12 ways to deal with a turn 2 dreadnought.
yeah. So then I'm wondering about worship in here.
Yeah.
Uh, like I don't know. I wonder if like you need worship because you already have other ways to gain life, you know?
Mhm. I don't run worship. And I
I
wonder
think
if I should sometimes. Uh, I think maybe I would sideboard it. We have to talk about. I found a guide to pre-modern Enchantress today. It's like a 33-page primer that somebody who I follow on Twitter wrote. I can't remember his name, but we'll talk about it in a future episode and I'll mention it. I found it again today because he showed up on my Twitter timeline because I think he placed really well in a pre-modern match at Eternal Weekend. And I was just skimming through this. I downloaded it so I didn't lose it. His Enchantress primer. I was skimming through it, and he goes and gives his reasoning for like he picks apart the deck card by card and goes into his reason for running all the different cards. And I think he tends to run one worship in his Enchantress decks. Now, yes, we're talking about Enchantress decks, so there's reason to run enchantments in general that you don't have reason to run in non-Enchantress decks.
Yeah.
But he mentions worship and how it's really it's like a lock against burn decks and goblins. Now, if you're playing red-green goblins, no, but they'll have naturalized, they get rid of it. But if you're playing mono red and you get worship out, what can
Now they
they
have to
do other
kill
than cast?
all of your creatures and reduce your life to 0.
What'd you say?
Now they have to get rid of all of your creatures and reduce your
Oh,
life to 0,
yes,
which means they're going to run out of burn
it's very
probably.
hard.
Yeah.
Their option seems to be if you're running burn or running sly, you're mono red. Your option to deal with worship seems to be sideboard in anarchy after game 1 and hope that you cast anarchy and remove worship.
Okay.
But if you don't, like, what do you do?
Worship makes me want to try to play with regenerating creatures again.
Yeah. Worship Riverboa deck.
Riverboa deck, yeah.
Yavimaya Hollow.
Or worship Will-o'-the-Wisps.
Yes. Yes, do a Dead Guy Ale worship Will-o'-the-Wisp build.
That'd be fun.
It'd be unique. I don't see that. Could it be done?
I mean, they'd probably just get like swords to plowshare a lot, and the regeneration wouldn't matter too much, you know.
Yeah, that is true.
It'd still be fun to try.
Will-o'-the-Wisp Judge Skeleton worship. Come on. They don't have an unlimited number of Swords of
Correct,
Plowshares.
exactly. That's the
Yeah.
thing. I always try to think about, like, swords of plowshares is intimidating, but there's only going to be 4 of them max, so
Unless you're playing Sam Black and his land tax scroll rack parfait deck where he Gaia blessings them.
yeah.
He just plays them and digs through his whole deck. Swords of Plowshares shoot 12 times. I don't know how many times you can do that. I'd have to do the math in my head real quick. I'm not going to do it.
So this is a warmth in the sideboard too. Whenever target opponent casts a red spell, gain 2 life.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine that combined with the worship would
Yeah.
start to make it really hard for red decks to kill you.
Worship Recurring Nightmare. Sacrifice a creature, return Recurring Nightmare to its owner's hand, return target creature card from the graveyard to the battlefield. So this can help you just like continually
Yeah.
sack clerics, bring them back, sack clerics, bring them back, sack clerics, bring them back. I like this. I mean, this reminds me of what this is a Dead Gael, but with a cleric creature package. I think.
Yep. So yeah, I thought this was pretty good.
I'm not a Dead Gael specialist, and I can't remember all the creatures in typical Dead Gael decks, but I do think the shining star of many Dead Gael decks, the Exalted Angel. When the Exalted Angel comes out, the opponent's in trouble. You don't have that here. But you do have your shadow creatures. You have a lot of efficient utility creatures.
And you have the Rot Lung Reanimators, like you're probably going pretty wide with
That's true. Yeah.
generating a lot.
I like it.
I do too. All right, 2 more decks. Powering through. Next one is going to be a heavier black deck with some white utility.
Black-White Koreas.
Another
Koreas. Little Clerics. Right? Is that what it is? We were told last week. Little priests, little clerics, little holy men. I think it's little clerics. Again, by Kowalski. We saw 2 Kowalski decks last week. I'm asking you questions, Alex. You're just looking at me and smiling.
No, I was just thinking about it. I wasn't sure if what they meant was that the clerics themselves are little, you know?
Yeah, they are, but I thought that's what Korea's meant. Little clerics.
It's a diminutive, yeah. So
Diminutive. Okay, yeah. Go.
so this
22. We're back to a 60 card deck.
So
22
yeah,
creatures.
back to the same kind of basic black cleric creature package that we saw before. Got the Rot Lungs, got the Archons, got the Priest Gix, Withered Wretch, almost the same. This is like the same exact list as the one deck we looked at.
Mhm.
Differences start to be with the utility spells and the other non-cleric things in the deck. For starters, you have a Cursed Scroll. You have
More
2
direct
Enlightened
damage.
Tutors in here, which I thought was interesting.
I think I like the Curse Scroll better than the Carevex Spite now that I feel like this is another. It's not all at once 5 damage, but you can start. You can you hit them with the Curse Scroll 3 times. You've already done more than the Carevex Spite,
Yeah.
and you can start getting this off fairly early, probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Enlightened Tutor.
What are your targets here? Curse Scroll. I guess it's good to go get your Seal and Cleansing or Engineer Plague, depending on what your opponent has on the board. You might need to get those. They might be really important to have a Disenchant effect or to Engineer Plague creature horde
Or
coming
even the
your way.
Recurring Nightmare. You could probably just pick from any of those enchantments depending on what the game state is like when
Yeah,
you cast the tutor.
that's what I would do. If I had an immediate need for a Disenchant or an Engineered Plague, I'd go for the Seal of Cleansing or an Engineered Plague. If not, I might just get
Go
my
with the Recurring
Recurring
Nightmare.
Nightmare.
Yeah, to get your thing set up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. 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 Duress and Cabal Therapy again, Patriarch's Bidding again. This one does have the Phyrexian Arena in it.
Yeah. Can't decide if I like that more than the Skeletal Scryings, but I'm kind of leaning towards the Skeletal Scryings. I kind of talked myself into it
I see.
earlier.
One thing interesting in here is Presence of the Master in the sideboard. Did you see that?
Really?
Yeah. Which I think is, I was like, what? But I guess it was reprinted in Urza's Saga.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that you can get it for 39 cents.
Is that the case? Yeah.
Presence of the Master.
Uncommon from Urza's Saga.
Really?
Mhm.
That's cool.
I didn't, maybe I saw that before and then forgot.
Yeah. Oh, it's totally different art.
Yeah.
I probably saw this and didn't even put two and two together. And
Oh yeah, I realized it was the same card.
yeah,
Yeah.
because it's just so associated with Einstein in my
Yeah.
mind. The original Foglio art. Okay. That would be good against a lot of different decks, you know? Get this out early against Enchantress.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, last deck. This one's a little bit different, so I wanted to include it. We have a black-white deck with a bit of an enchantment theme in it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was excited to see this because last week we talked about Academy Rector. We were kind of like, it's probably used more in like non-cleric
Non-clerics
decks.
decks. Yeah.
But this deck is using four of them because it's an enchantment cleric deck.
Black White Clerics deck by Robin Carlson. Yeah, 4 Academy Rectors.
Mhm.
And then we're seeing very different things here.
Yeah.
Uh, we've seen Rotlung Reanimator. We just talked about that. And we know Shaman Encore and True Believer, aka
Ebonblade
True
Reaper,
Believer.
I skipped this episode, but it was just out of the probably top 10 or top 12 of most commonly used ones, but I have seen it pop up in a few decks. It when you attack with Ebonblade Reaper, you lose half your life, and if it damages them, they lose half their life.
That sounds scary.
Yeah, right.
2 colors, 1 black, 1/1. Whenever it attacks you, you lose half your life rounded up. You could just play this out as a 2/2 creature for 3 colorless, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because it's morph. So you could just, if this is in your hand, you just play it for 3 colorless 2/2. And then it sits there waiting until there's no blockers around, and then you morph it. But you have to not only have no blockers around, you have to also have life totals that make this worth your while.
Mhm.
You lose half your life rounded up. If it deals combat damage to a player, that player loses half his or her life rounded up. Okay. So it sits there until you're behind, and then you can use this to potentially catch up. It's a weird card. How often would it ever actually work out for you? I don't know. This is a very different deck. Just to start off, there's only 13 creatures, so it's far less creature heavy than the things we've seen. Academy Rector, I mean, you're not even going to be, that's not a beater. You're not going to be using this to attack. You're going to be using it to get your enchantments. Ebonblade Reaper is weird and scary. Celestial Gatekeeper, 3 colorless, 2 white. Is this a bird cleric that rips holes
Yeah.
in space-time?
Yep.
It is majestic. It is 3 colorless, 2 white. It is 2/2 flying. When Celestial Gatekeeper is put into a graveyard from play, remove it from the game, then return up to 2 target bird and or cleric cards from your graveyard to play. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
So you're probably going to use it to get other clerics back from your graveyard. It's a bit to cast. Rotling Reanimator, Shaman Encore, True Believer.
Couple different cards in this deck. Did you see Insidious Dreams?
Okay, those are that's a creature package. It was kind of an unusual creature package.
Mhm.
Instance. Culling the Weak, which generates a bunch of mana, right? 1 black.
Sacrifice a creature for 4 mana.
Sacrifice creature, add 4 mana to your mana pool. Dark Ritual. Insidious Dreams, which I can't remember what this does. 3 colorless, 1 black, instant from Torment. As an additional cost to play Insidious Dreams, discard X cards from your hand. Search your library for X cards, then shuffle your library and put those cards on top of it in any order. So, okay. It's like a Mirage Tutor for 4, and you discard. I say it's like a Mirage Tutor because you get to tutor for stuff, but you put it on top of your library.
Mm-hmm. But for multiple cards. And you
But
get
for
to fill
multiple
your
cards.
graveyard if that helps you in black.
Yeah. Tainted Pact, which I always forget what this does. 1 colorless, 1 black instant. Exile the top card of your library. You may put that card into your hand unless it has the same name as another card exiled this way. Repeat this process until you put a card into your hand or you exile 2 cards with the same name, whichever comes first. So this is a way to get cards in your graveyard, also to get a card that you at least have 2 of in your deck, right?
Uh-huh.
It's like it reminds me of a demonic consultation almost, right?
Yeah.
You're going to be pitching a lot of stuff until you find what you want, probably. Unless you Insidious Dreams first, and then you Tainted Pact. So you
Yeah, I
have
was
those
gonna
2.
say with the Insidious Dreams, or
You can have what you want right there. Also, maybe you
yeah,
just put creatures into your graveyard and you don't care. No, you exile these. So I was going to say you can't Patriarch's Bidding them. Vengeful Dreams, I don't know this. 2 white instant as an additional cost to play Vengeful Dreams. Discard X cards from your hand. Remove X target attacking creatures from the game. Okay, there's a lot of discard here. What does he do with the
this
stuff
is
that's been
great for a
discarded?
black-white deck, this Vengeful Dreams.
Oh, you remove them from the game.
Yeah. And you're only discarding, so if you if you want to fill your graveyard, that's great.
Yeah, I'm seeing, but this is what I'm getting to. I'm seeing lots of discard here. Where are the spells that bring things back from your graveyard? I know Patriarch's Bidding, but some of the cards
We've
we've seen so
stitched
far,
together.
Exile, Profane Prayers. Okay, we saw this earlier. Deals X damage to target creature or player, and you gain X life, where X is the number of clerics in play. You're not going to have a ton of clerics in play with this deck. You only have 13 creatures. Stitched together. 2 black, sorcery. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Threshold. Instead, return that card from your graveyard to play. Okay, you have 4 stitched together.
I like this, and I never think about using it. It's under the radar for me.
What creature does he bring back? Shaman, Rotlong, Academy Rector. I'm still trying to figure out how to play Ebon Blade Reaper. Such a weird one.
Ebon Blade. Ebon
Ebon.
Blade.
Ebony.
Ebon. Yeah, that I'm not sure about that card yet, really, in here about how you use it.
And we have 12 enchantments in here. So this
Oh
is
no,
the
I know how, Steve. Yeah, I see some of the things. Convalescent
keep.
Care enchantment.
Okay, we got 12 enchantments in this deck. This is what really sets this deck apart from the
Okay,
other decks we've talked about
so
so far.
the
It's an
Ebon
enchantment
Blade
heavy deck.
Reaper helps you get your life low, which you want for Convalescent Care.
Okay. If you have 5 life or less, you gain 3 life and draw a card. Okay.
So that's one synergy.
Okay, so you're playing fast and loose with your life here. You're getting it low, hoping you can benefit from that, hoping they don't get rid of the cards that you need in order to recover from that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You also only have 1 convalescent care. You have worship too. So, well, worship won't protect you. Well, yeah, it will. You can get yourself low with Ebon Blade and you just won't take damage. I mean, you'll take the damage, but it won't kill you if you have worship. Oh.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, you have some things to keep you from dying all the way. And then you have
You have
Convalescent
3.
Care, which makes use of the fact that you're low on life because you draw a card.
Yeah. You have 3
Starting to see,
Phyrexian Arena, which is loss of life.
yeah,
Worship doesn't help with that. Phyrexian Arena could kill you with a worship in play.
yeah.
Parallax Wave.
Talked about that last
Opalescence.
time.
So Opalescence is another possible finisher.
Hmm.
Multiple enchantments in play, cast opalescence. This is interesting. I don't know how to play it. I feel like it's a little bit all over the place,
Yeah, there's
but
a lot of stuff going on here.
all over the place might not be the best way to describe it. Maybe I should say there's a lot of different lines of play to follow,
Yeah.
a lot of different possibilities. Once you know the deck, you know what you've played, you know what you still might draw, what you might be able to tutor for. Your opponent will probably have a hard time getting a good read on what it is you might be doing next.
Yeah, they're probably gonna have a hard time figuring out what you're trying to do and set up as you're playing this.
I'll have a hard time figuring it out for a while.
But I think
And
it's interesting. There's a lot of cards that are unique in
yeah,
here, like compared to some of the other decks we've looked at.
yeah. So convalescent carry, this is a potential card draw engine. Could work with the Ebon Blade Reaper, could also like work with Phyrexian Arena. You know, every time you bring your life down below 5, it's
There you
back
go.
up 3.
Yep.
It's back up 3.
Yeah. So yeah. Interesting.
What does Cover of Darkness do again? This is in Spanish. En cuanto el amparo de la
When it comes into
oscuridad,
play,
when it comes
choose a
into play.
creature type. Creatures
Yes.
of the chosen type have fear.
They inspire temor. Yes. That's kind of a weird card to have 2 of in this deck. Maybe you generate a few zombie tokens and then you name zombies and you go through for 8.
I was
Yeah.
looking at it with the Rotling Reanimator, maybe.
Yeah. I think that's what you do. I think that's what you do.
Or, I mean, you could be using it to make your Ebon Blade Reaper unblockable.
You could do that.
You want to name clerics, and then that way you could do the Ebon Blade Reaper thing.
You could do that.
That's interesting. Okay. I'm starting to see how that card fits into the deck with the convalescent care and stuff.
Many different lines of play. This deck could be very difficult to play against because like I wouldn't necessarily know where it was coming from for a while.
Yeah.
But it also looks like it's kind of difficult. Like I'd need a lot of practice piloting this effectively, probably, I think. I don't build decks like this. And I need to start playing around more with some different play styles, some different strategies. Like I've said multiple times already this episode, I like curving out with value creatures. And I found myself building a lot of decks like that since we got back into Magic. I just keep doing it in different colors. I'm curving out with value creatures in green. And then I started curving out with value creatures in red with goblins. And now here we are learning about zombies and clerics, and I'm going to curve out with value creatures in black and in white. But I need to start varying up my play styles a little bit, building different types of decks. Going with more one-ofs. I don't do a lot of one-ofs either. I build in blocks. But why not go one-ofs? One Celestial Gatekeeper, one Shaman Encore, one True Believer, one Tainted Pact, one Insidious Dreams, one Vengeful Dreams, one Patriarch's Bidding, one Convalescent Care, one No Mercy, one Opalescence.
Yeah, this is interesting. I almost always look at a deck and I'm like, okay, I'd do this and this, like kind of maybe like tweak something. This I want to try like just like it is,
Mm-hmm.
just so that I can see, you know what I mean? Just so I can test it out and see how it works and how all the pieces are supposed to fit together.
And I usually do things with like 1 or 2 lines of play. This is like a web of interactions.
Yeah. I like that though. I like when you have lots of synergy as opposed
Yeah.
to like having like distinct like combos that are like, I have this like 3-part combo that like wins or something. Uh
Mm-hmm.
I I kind of like when I have multiple things that synergize with each other. And so I maybe don't need all 3 or 4 pieces. I can have a couple of them, maybe have a few more at one point and a few less at one point if they get removed, but I have a few things that are always working together.
Mm-hmm.
I find that fun. So yeah, I don't know. Those were a few different decks that I saw, like just different play styles. But like I said earlier, like you could mess around with different balances of white and black in these decks, and you can make a whole bunch of different combinations where you know, splash different removal or damage options into the deck. So, lots of things you could do with it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And
I
I'm
like
probably gonna have like
thermodynamics.
I'll probably have like several different cleric decks that are like a little bit different from each other.
It's a good review of black clerics, some green clerics, some gold clerics. There's some interesting decks you showed us today. A lot of variety here. Before we go, I have one thing I want to mention. It's a few cards, actually.
Yeah.
Looking up clerics, I thought to myself, when we started talking about clerics, I thought, I wonder if there are any cards from back in the day that weren't clerics, but now are clerics that I wasn't thinking about. You actually showed me some that I didn't have on my list. Ragnar, for instance, some old legends. But there's some other stuff too. I didn't look very extensively. I just went to MTG Wiki Cleric. It was one of the first things I read when I was learning about clerics. Up here early into the article, they mentioned the Great Creature update. They say the following obsolete classes were incorporated into the cleric class, and they mention a few. And I was like, oh, didn't realize all these are clerics now. Samite Alchemist used to be an alchemist, is now a cleric. Do you remember this card, Alex?
I do.
Oh, do you really? I was expecting you to say no, and I was going to say, of course you don't remember, because it's terrible.
No, I remember it because it's terrible.
It's from Homelands.
Yeah, because I had this and I forgot how weird he looked, but
Yeah, he's misshapen. He's 3 colorless, 1 white. He's 0/2. You can
God,
pay
this card
2 white
sucks so bad.
and tap it to prevent up to 4 damage to a creature you control. And then you have to tap that creature, and then also that creature does not untap in your next untap phase. Nobody ever wants to play this card.
I have a soft spot for a lot of like semi-bad janky cards that I'll try to like work with, but I have no desire to try to make this work.
I do wonder, I wonder if anybody's ever written an article about this card or just about cards of this type in general. And I mean this type as in bad, and maybe mentioned this card. I understand the reason for you're building when you're designing a game. I'm not a game designer. I've never,
It's tough.
designed
I
Magic
get
the
it.
Gathering sets, but I do know, like if you were to ask me, hey, if you're going to design the next Magic the Gathering set, should you design it so that every single card in the set is incredibly powerful? The answer is no. You want to have a variety of card types, a variety of effects, a variety of power levels. It makes for a more interesting game for reasons I can't totally explain. But is there ever a reason to have like what just seems to be on its face a terrible card? Like this seems to be a terrible card, right?
Yeah.
No, like even in a draft environment, we talked about a couple cards today where I was like, oh, I could play that in a draft environment. I would draft that card.
Yeah.
And I could see it being good in a draft
Even in
environment.
like a much lower powered environment, I still wouldn't want to play this. You're
It's
just
just
like
bad.
hamstringing yourself.
It's just bad. Anyways, it's now a cleric. Ancestors are now clerics. Auspicious Ancestor from Mirage is an example they give. Here, 3 colorless, 1 white, 2/3. Already way better than Samite Alchemist. If Auspicious Ancestor is put into the grave from play, gain 3 life. Pay 1 colorless to gain 1 life. Use this ability only when a white spell is successfully cast, and only once for each such spell. Decent card. I'll put this into a class of card where, like, I've never put in a 60 card constructed, but I could see myself, if I'm playing Mirage Draft, I bet this comes in handy sometimes. I could
Yeah.
work this into some decks.
Uh-huh. I mean, Jesus, it's a 2/3 at least. The Samite Alchemist, my God. Like, has no power.
0/2.
It slows down the game so much.
Yeah.
I don't want to slow down the game that much.
It's terrible. 2 from the Dark. Exorcists and hunters. In the category of exorcists, you have exorcist, now a cleric. You can
Okay.
use this human cleric to destroy target black creatures. Witch hunter is also now a human cleric, although I always thought this thing wasn't human. It looks demonic to me. I would say it's a demon cleric. But would demons be hunting witches? I don't know.
I
Doesn't
just
look
always thought it
human.
was like spooky lighting. It was supposed to like make the witch hunter look sinister because of the red light reflecting.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see two badass white cards from the dark now be clerics. You could put these in your cleric clan deck and your cleric commander deck. I got another one for you, Alex. Soldevi Heretic. This is a blue cleric. It's no longer a heretic. It's a blue cleric. This one sucks too. 2 colorless, 1 blue, 2/2.
Oh God.
Pay 1 white and tap it to prevent up to 2 damage to any creature target opponent may draw a card.
It does suck.
That's terrible. I would again put this in a class of cards that I wouldn't even want to draft.
Yeah.
I got
It's
stuck
not
with
even
them
just tap it. You have to spend mana and you have to spend off-color mana.
off-color mana, and they get a card. Inquisitor. In the category of Inquisitor, they show Sarah Inquisitors, which is a homeland card that I did not remember. 4 colorless, 1 white, 3/3. If assigned to block any black creatures or any black creatures are assigned to block it, Sarah Inquisitors get +2/+0 until end of turn. So they potentially become a 5/3 for 5. Not good, but not nearly as bad as Samite Alchemist. Later reintroduced in Warhammer 40,000 or 40K commander decks. I'm surprised. Weird. Keepers of the Faith, old card from Legends, are now clerics. They're not just keepers, they're summoned clerics. 2/3 for 3. Clergy of the Holy Nimbus, another old card from Legends.
I love this card.
No longer summoned priests, they're summoned clerics.
I bought a little stack of these.
1 white, 1/1. When clergy are destroyed or take lethal damage unless opponent plays 1 colorless, clergy are regenerated. Not terrible.
Yeah,
Decent
I like
little
it.
1 drop.
Instead of having to pay to regenerate your own creatures, now you have to make your opponent pay.
Vigilant Martyr. I remember this from Mirage. It's now a summon cleric. Another
I don't
1
think I
drop.
remember this card.
1/1. Sacrifice the martyr to regenerate target creature. I like the flavor. You could pay 2 white, tap, sacrifice Vigilant Martyr, counter target spell that targets an enchantment in play. Play this ability as an interrupt. This wouldn't be so bad for that enchantment heavy.
I might not
card
hate
deck
that
we
in
saw.
an enchantment deck.
Death Speakers. I don't remember this card, and I don't know what this symbol is. I wonder what set this was originally printed in. It's just a 1 drop, 1/1 protection from black. Death Speakers. And then the most exciting one of all, another one from the dark, Preacher.
I saw you
Preacher's now.
skip Preacher so you could come back to it dramatically as the
I
last
wanted to end with the Preacher. The Preacher's now summon human cleric. 1 colorless, 2 white, 1/1. You may choose not to untap Preacher during your untap step. Tap, gain control of target creature of an opponent's choice that he or she controls as long as Preacher remains untapped. I like the fact that I could now put Preacher, Exorcist, and Witch Hunter in my old frame commander deck, commander cleric deck,
There you go.
or just old frame 60 card cleric deck. There we go. I now got that cleric synergy.
Death
That was it,
Speakers was
Alex.
from Homelands originally, by the way.
Death Speakers? Okay. I should have known. The art felt like Homelands. This isn't terrible. This is just a 1 drop with Pro Black.
Yeah.
Grandmother Sangir. Such innocent little birds. They sing a sweet song, sitting on their fragile branch. Grandmother Sangir. Okay. Okay, Alex, that's all I have for clerics, for black clerics today.
Yeah, me too.
Even though I ended with white clerics and a blue cleric. I think that brings us to the end of this episode. What number episode was this? This was 68. Episode 68. You know what that means, Alex? That means next episode is episode 69. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, Alex. You know what I'm talking about. What are you laughing about? Weirdo. What's so funny? Grow up, Alex. Man, come on. Nothing funny about that. There's another Magic the Gathering channel that I really enjoy, but what they do every time they start their live streams, they're like, "Can we get 69 likes? Can we get 60? How about 420?" Come on, people. We're adults here. We're old men. We don't giggle over things like that. It's silly. Grow up. Alex, before we leave for today, do you have any words of wisdom for the listeners?
No, Steve.
Nothing. Nothing to say.
Nothing at all.
Okay, then. We'll save the words of wisdom for episode 69. See you next week. Okay. I'm done.